Good evening and welcome to the Select Board meeting for July 12th, 2022, and I will call the meeting to order. This meeting of the Hopkins Select Board is being held both in person and remotely using the video conference platform Zoom. All members are in the meeting room, so all members participating in the meeting are present in the meeting room. The public has the option of attending in person here at Town Hall or via Zoom using the link posted on the meeting's agenda. The meeting is being recorded. Okay, and our first item on the agenda is to enter into executive session. So I would entertain a motion to move into executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Purpose 3, to consider strategy with respect to negotiations relative to non-union employees, town manager, fire chief, police chief, and collective bargaining relative to DPW, police, fire, and library unions, because an open meeting may have detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the board. Purpose 2, pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 38, 21A, Purpose 6, to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real estate regarding 69 Franklin Road, the general property on Saddle Hill Road. It's just two, okay. Because an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the board. Third purpose, to approve executive session minutes. And fourth, to allow Norma Kamalo and Elaine Lazarus to participate in the executive session. And 5, to reconvene an open session at the conclusion of executive session.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstained? Oh, we have to do roll call because it's executive. Okay, so roll call, Rich, I do.
Shahid Manan, yes.
Mary Jo Frenier, yes.
Muriel Kramer, yes.
Irfan Nasrullah, yes.
Amy Rotobush, yes. Okay, so we will be back hopefully at
See you in a little
6:30.
bit.
We're ready, whenever each comes ready. Okay, so welcome. The Select Board is now returned from executive session, and I call the meeting to order. Our first item of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise and join us. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, all right, and then the next item on the agenda is public forum. So if there are any members of the public, they will have up to 2 minutes to speak at public forum. Start by stating your name and address, and we will first go to people in the room, and then we will go to people who are participating remotely on Zoom. So is there anyone in the room who would like to speak at public forum? Nope. Okay, now is there anyone on Zoom that would like to, please raise your hand. There is someone with their hand raised. It's a phone number that ends in 2096. Okay, caller, please state your name and address, and then you have 2 minutes.
Hello again. Select Board, this is Ann Karnowski. Just wanted to let you know that Norman is planning to go negotiate with a new company that owns the Liberty Mutual Forest. The new company is Agilitas. And let's wish him luck to acquiring that precious forest for the residents of Hopkinton. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, looks like there is another hand raised. Darlene Hayes.
Darlene Hayes, 1 Third Road. Just a couple of things. One, I hope you guys aren't forgetting about this Cumberland Farms area, but I don't know why they were both allowed to be paved at the same time, Cumberland Farms and All Fresh, but it caused, again, this side of town to be kind of trapped. The other is I had extent decent amount of car damage from the downtown corridor about a week ago. The town is making it whole, but with 16 streets plus the downtown corridor plus Hayward, I'm very, very concerned about emergency vehicles. If someone had to get an ambulance over, even when it's reduced down to 1 lane, I just don't know if there's been any address to that. And that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I don't see any other hands raised on Zoom, and I don't see any other hands in the room. Okay, so I think we can move on to the next item, which is the consent agenda. So the board will consider approving the consent agenda consisting of approving the minutes from June 21st, 2022, affirming the town manager's appointment of Sarah Randall for the position of social worker program coordinator for Youth and Family Services Department, and accepting the resignation of Olivia Sword from the Sustainable Green Committee. Does anyone want to separate out any items? Want to make a motion?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Don't we usually separate out new hires so we get a chance to speak? I mean, I don't actually care. I'm just saying typically we speak to new hires and it's a little more of a thing.
there an
Yes, the
explanation?
board normally would do that. However, we are thinking now of bringing new hires under the consent agenda, if the board is inclined to do so. If there's an interest in seeing the specific candidate, we can ask them to come forward.
So there was information in our packet, but if we want them to come forward for questions, we can do that. What do you-
I just find it kind of nice that we greet new people to the town. That's just my feeling. I'm not,
Okay.
I agree.
Okay, so if Sarah Randall is here tonight, could we have her, or first?
So do we
well,
want to break
first
that
let's
out for
approve
a
the-
separate vote?
Okay,
go ahead. I'll make a motion to break that out for a separate vote.
okay. And so can we do a motion to approve the other two items then?
So moved?
Okay,
What is she?
a second?
Which one is she?
She's, Sarah Randall will be the second one,
Oh,
so if we,
I wanted to talk about that too.
okay.
And
So, a motion to approve the minutes and accept the resignation of Olivia Sword.
With regrets.
With regrets, and
Also
congratulations to her,
congratulations,
you know.
because she's off to college.
and I just want to thank her so much for her service to the town.
Exactly.
Okay, so all in favor of approving those two items? Aye?
Aye.
Okay. And now we'll have Sarah Randall come forward, so can we have a little introduction? No, we did read the packet. So do you want to introduce her, Dawn? Yep.
Thrilled to introduce to you Sarah Randall. She's an MSW, LCSW. Her history has been most recently working in an adult day health program, but prior to that was with Mass Support. And Mass Support served during the pandemic as sort of the go-to for everything pandemic trauma related. And so she comes to us well-trained in trauma response and in helping people cope with the uncopable, right? Given the pandemic and the so many things that have happened since. And so we were really impressed with her vulnerability, her honesty, and her passion for social work and for public service when she interviewed with us.
Okay, so does anyone have any questions or comments for Sarah?
I'll go.
You go?
Since I made this happen, welcome, by the way. I mean this to be very welcoming, not at all intimidating or problematic. My name's Muriel, by the way, and I am also a social worker. So if you would just tell us a little bit about, I really do think that the town loves to meet people, even a little bit, when they're new to the town. I know that I like to hear about it. Tell us a little bit about what attracted you to the work at the town level with your experiences and what you hope to do here.
Well, it's something different, which I like. I'm excited to work with youth and families. I really enjoy family work on the town level. I think gives a lot of opportunities to work with a lot of different people and collaborate with a lot of different organizations, which I'm excited about.
Awesome. And then your experience was a lot with older adults too, so it's kind of a nifty tie-in for a town that is really working hard to develop ourselves even more in our senior services as well. So hopefully that plays for you. Thank you.
Okay. Oh,
So
I just want to welcome you to Hopkinton, and this is you're filling a long-awaited position, and you're coming home. You are from Hopkinton, so I just wanted to say welcome home.
Thank you.
So I was just going to say welcome back as well. It's a great position. I'm really glad to see this role filled. The Youth and Family Services is in need these days, particularly post-pandemic. So I think you're coming out at the right time, and we're really happy to have you.
Do you have anything, Shadow?
Yeah, along the same line. Welcome and congratulations. Thanks for choosing our town, and you have an awesome background and great service, so thank you for that. And good luck and all the best.
Yeah, thank you very much. So now, shall we have a motion to affirm the town manager's appointment of Sarah Randall? Okay.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye. Welcome home.
Opposed or
Welcome
abstained?
back.
Okay. All right, our next item on the agenda is volunteer recognition. The board will recognize Cheryl Perot, who was nominated for volunteer recognition by a resident. The nomination was reviewed by the volunteer recognition team. Bob Levinson will present the nomination tonight, and I think I saw him earlier.
Wait, what?
She can wait there.
Thank you. I'm going to have Mina read the nomination because I think it's important. I just want to point out, when we started this a few years ago, someone like Cheryl is exactly the type of person that we wanted to recognize. And it's wonderful that Mina took advantage of that opportunity. Thank you for Ms. Lazarus for directing her there. And I'm going to use this as an advertisement for the volunteer recognition, which is supported by the town manager office. I appreciate that. Encourage people to take advantage and do that. It's one of the things that sets Hopkinton apart. It's the spirit of the community, is the volunteerism, and when we have people take the time to recognize wonderful people like Cheryl, it's awesome. So I printed it out for you if you want to read the
Thank you. I didn't print it, so I'm happy to. Thank you, Bob. Madam Chair, I can't thank you enough for recognizing Dr. Cheryl Perot. She has been a resident of Hopkinton for many, many years, but I haven't known her for that long. I've known her only for 4 or 5 years. And I'm sorry if I'm a little emotional about it. Part of it is because Cheryl has served in the community, been part of the community for so long, but has chosen to move out of the state. So it's a bit bittersweet, this moment. At the same time, I would like to say that change agents come in different shapes and forms in a community. And she's one of those change agents who's gentle, and her style is of love, peace, and finding common ground. It's very rare to have those qualities, be so highly qualified, and yet be so humble and present for individuals. Another key aspect that I have found of this change agent is she inspires one to reflect. She did many interviews through Meet Your Neighbor and several other programs that she partnered with HCAM on. One of the things that she asked me when I started my journey of service in the community was, what makes a teacher special? What makes a good teacher? That was a question she asked me in the moment, and it required me to reflect. She was not giving answers or solutions. She was making me reflect. And some of those questions that she raised in that interview remain with me in my service. I suspect that that was the case for many, many interviewees through her programs, whether it was truth-telling, whether it was finding common ground, and of course, her very famous wake up and smell the poetry. Since Bob printed this out, if you would allow me, I will read this out. Mm-hmm. I have known Cheryl only for the past 4 years or so, but even in that short time, I have been so inspired and humbled with her work to bring the community closer, be it through community programming like Meet Your Neighbor, Wake Up and Smell the Poetry, or through storytelling. She has envisioned and led many programs, participated in innumerable community events for justice and peace in her gentle manner, always keeping the issues at the center rather than herself. She has worked with so many people in her lifetime, especially those who are voiceless, and offered peace, love, and healing.
Thank you very much.
If it is okay, Bob, may I just read, these were words which came from Lynn Canty, who is also a Hopkinton resident and serves on the youth committee and is an educator. May I please?
Yes, go
it's
ahead.
very brief. Cheryl is so deserving of this recognition by the town of Hopkinton. I can sincerely say her poetry nights were one of the local events that helped ease my transition when we moved to Hopkinton. Please give Cheryl my love, gratitude, and deep appreciation for all of her service to this town.
Thank you.
The nomination form asks for the role and the reason for nominating. It also asks about the contributions, how they impacted the town. And Mina also wrote, and I'm going to comment on one of the more beautifully written nomination forms. I'm like choking up as I'm reading it. It's wonderful. She said, in many, many ways, Cheryl has brought the community closer through gentle, peaceful ways. Her work with Finding Common Ground was another way in which she brought the community together during a highly divisive time in our country. And I was very impressed with this, and also the 100 people on the email string, I think, that were supporting it, including Ms. Kramer and Dottie, who's on that group as well. So I think it's wonderful. I'm the vessel for this. I'm going to bring Cheryl, have her take my seat, and
Okay.
thank you for taking the time to do this.
Thank you, Bob. There are a few others too, Madam Chair, who would want to speak of her.
Okay. Can you come forward, Cheryl? Or we'll have Cheryl come forward, I think. Yeah. Do board members want to say something briefly?
I would be delighted
Sure.
to say something. So I've known Cheryl for a very long time and have been the beneficiary of a lot of your wonderful works. And I think most fondly of the ways that you invited me in as an adult through my daughter. You helped my daughter explore her gifts and talents for poetry in a way that was extremely meaningful for me. And it wasn't necessarily, I love poetry, but I don't share the gift. So it wasn't necessarily something that was automatic for me, would I have necessarily known how to support her. So that was obviously a very wonderful gift to us and our whole family. But I also really appreciated, I think I was one of your interviewees on Meet Your Neighbors. Every once in a while it pops up on Google, and it's my favorite thing that pops up on Google when I see it. But thank you so much for your contributions to the town, to the arts. And when I think about it, I think mostly about the ways that you made the arts accessible for so many that weren't necessarily automatically given to understanding how to get involved. So I appreciate that so much.
Thank you.
So, well, you know, in the town, we celebrate volunteerism, and I think you're the epitome of it. I mean, the recommendations you're getting from Bob and from the accolades is all around the town. It's hard to ignore. So, thank you so much for all your work, and we're really going to miss you.
I wanted to add that I've gotten to know Cheryl the last couple of years with her work on the Freedom Team and storytelling, and for many years I'd seen her on HCAM, all the different shows she's done. But we'll really miss you, but wish you the best.
All those accolades, it's impossible to come after them, but we appreciate your service very much, and with very much gratitude. Thank you. So,
Yeah, thank you for all the wonderful work you have done. When the whole town is behind you, it tells a lot, and we were lucky to have you, and I'm sure wherever you are going, they are lucky to have you now, and you'll continue to spread your service and good deeds. Good luck. Thank you.
thank you.
If there are others that would like to speak, I would just say keep it pretty brief, and then maybe we could just all do a quick group photo. Do you think?
Yeah.
Looks like, yeah.
Thank you. I'm Kathleen Dinsmore, resident of Hopkinton, and everyone has already said much of what I had on my prepared speech. One of the things that I wanted to point out is, among Cheryl's many gifts, is that she is a real connector. She has connected me with so many people, and I know that just through her trying to find common ground between individuals and encouraging empathy is a way to really bring people together to create more peace. And what Cheryl has always done is spread love. That I think is her main way of moving through this world and trying to instill peace in this world. So thank you, Cheryl.
So if everyone who's here tonight who came to honor Cheryl would like to come forward if they're comfortable, we could do a group photo.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll have a certificate.
Are we all going out?
Yes.
Gotta let everyone by.
I know, right? That was my fatal flaw. I should wait till I
Yeah, 1 second.
It'll be very short. Cher is an inspiration to all the people in Hopkinton and also to our world. A poet, writer, spoken word artist, and a true friend. She has the special gift to connect people through her heart. This is a gift. Cheryl has worked as producer of a number of programs for community arts and healing arts, including Wake Up and Smell the Poetry, the Women's Art Forum, Meet Your Neighbor, and Common Ground Storytelling at HCAN TV. Together we have these 2 books published in 2015, 2020, and I like to say thank you, my friend, for being you to transform the world. It has been an honor to share the journey of life with you. That's it. It's very short.
Thank you, very sweet.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Mina, for nominating her and bringing it to our attention. Okay. Let's see, and now we have an employee recognition. The board will recognize Richard Corcoran, firefighter, who has retired on July 5th, 2022, after 15 years with the town.
Is
Is
Mr.
Richard
Corcoran
is
here?
Not here.
Oh, is he on Zoom? Let's,
Oh.
I think. I don't think so. Okay, well, we really like to thank Richard for his service and really wish him an enjoyable retirement and he can do all the things he wants to do. And we will probably we can send a note if then if he's not here.
Yep.
Here comes the chief.
Okay.
Oh, no, it's gone out.
Is he not here? He's not here.
He's not participating, we will not reschedule, we'll move forward.
What's that? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda is to appoint new police officers. The board will interview and consider appointing Tyler Stabak and Alexander Stewart as police officers for the town of Hopkinton. And there's a process review. Is that from you, Norman, or from HR?
From HR, from Maria and Police Chief Bennett.
Good evening. I just want to go over the process a little bit. So we have been recruiting for police officers since early November, and our recent postings have been that we keep them open until filled, and we're trying to pivot quickly to get people through the process. So in November, we were looking for lateral police officers. We had 23 apply. 7 were not qualified, 16 were interviewed first round, 5 continued on to second round, 3 withdrew, and 5 were selected, and the select board have appointed those officers. Then in April, we refreshed the posting, and we were looking for 2 different criteria. One was trained police officers, and one was officers currently enrolled in the police academy. So of the trained police officers, we received 3 applications. 1 was not qualified, 2 were interviewed first round, and 2 were interviewed second round, and they're being presented to you. And then also in April, for those who were enrolled in a police academy, 8 applied, 2 were not qualified, 3 were interviewed for first round, 2 continued on for second round, and they're being presented.
Before we bring Alex up, Tyler, I just want to thank you, Maria, and thank your team for all the work. And I know how much work goes into getting someone before the board, and your team is going full steam ahead, and we're very grateful for it, as well as the people in my building and the hiring, the people working on the interview committee. It's a lot of work and a lot of time, and it's important, and they take it very seriously, all of you do. So I just want to thank you for that, and thank you, everybody. So, these are all yours.
Oh, can you, so since we had 2 tonight, this is
Because the packets are in there, they're clear. He comes to us academy trained with a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. So.
And is this Tyler or Alexander?
This is Tyler.
Tyler, okay. Okay, so is anyone who would like to start with questions? And
I'll jump right in.
You formally with the state police?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening. So, as you may know, the town of Hopkinton has adopted the pledges, principles, and actions on systemic racism in our community and other communities. That pledge reaffirms Hopkinton's ongoing commitment to address systemic racism, social injustice, and inequity in our governance, and provisions of services to Hopkinton residents and businesses. In what ways do you think you could support the pledge? And just please describe them.
I can provide transparency and honesty. I've worked at a few different barracks, Springfield, Westfield, and Sturbridge. I've never had any complaints against me, any issues with the public. We have any kind of spearheading community policing type of programs they have. I feel like that definitely helps close any gaps between the public and the police themselves.
But I think the pledge is really looking more at ways of addressing systemic racism and how we can address that within our community. And I'm very pleased to hear that there's never been any complaints against you. That's certainly, expected. But in what ways do you think that you could help address the systemic issues?
Personally, just doing my job the way it's supposed to be done, treating everyone the same way. Basically, from my background, like the military and stuff like that, you kind of depend on everyone to your left and right, no matter what their race, religious status, anything, their creed, their sex. So I don't want to be cliche and say I don't see that. I do, and obviously it's a topic that should be discussed, and ways to kind of approach that, and I can do that. And I definitely think that community policing, different programs would help, like I said, close that gap, and I'm happy to be involved with that.
Great. Thank you.
okay. Muriel, do you have a question? Or-
Sure. Tyler, hi. My oldest son's name is Tyler. It's a riot. I'm like, it's making me smile a little bit. I also served in the military, and I want to thank you for your military service. My husband and I both served. All our dads did. That includes a stepdad for me. And my brother was a Marine at 29 pounds as well. So I definitely thank you for your service. It does tee up my personal interest and question and discomfort with, and I do appreciate your honesty, but I do wonder how you would think about your dishonorable discharge if you were sitting in my seat. I'll also tell you, by the way, that not only was I former military, but I'm a social worker too. So that question is meant to open up the possibilities of understanding more your experience.
Okay. So just to clarify, I'd like to state that I got an honorable discharge from the military. It's dishonorable from the state police.
Oh, thank you for that. I did not mean to, yes, I appreciate
just to
that.
clarify that, so the Executive Order 595 came out a while back, and it either required state employees to be vaccinated or to get an approved exemption. I filed for a religious exemption, and I was denied, and I stuck by my beliefs, and I was ultimately terminated. I was suspended for approximately 5 months unpaid, and then I was terminated, and the dishonorable discharge was solely just from, that was the colonel's decision.
I see. Were you offered an opportunity not to have a dishonorable discharge?
I went through different trial boards, basically to plead my case. I went above and beyond to kind of express my religious views and tried to appeal it, but unfortunately there was no appeal process set in at that time, so I kind of either had to go against my beliefs or stick through till the end. And through the trial boards, they found me not to have religious beliefs and terminated me.
Okay. I want to say again that I appreciate that you fully disclosed that as well. And I'm just going to be honest, it causes me personally some, I appreciate the explanation, and it's just something that I have to sort of work through and think about too, because it has a different meaning for me.
Understood.
So tell me, though, I don't want to end on that question because that was a hard question. Tell me what it is that that is your why for continuing in police work and trying to find a spot here in Hopkinton. Why is it you are so invested in this line of work?
So I love this line of work. Ever since I was young, I was kind of in different lines of work that helped out the public. I was a volunteer firefighter, and then the military, and then when I was on the state. I like to help people. What happened with the state was unfortunate, but I just love the profession itself. It always keeps you on your toes, and you have to stay aware of the updated laws to be effective. I just really like the opportunity to serve this community, and I'm very eager to get back out there on the road and serve the public.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If I may, can I just dovetail on that?
We do need to
Understood.
brief, but we need to let everyone speak.
Sure. Does this have anything to do with the HEK 293 cell strain? The first question that she was asking about your dishonorable discharge.
About my discharge?
Mm-hmm.
What was the question about that?
Does this have anything to do with the HEK 293 cell membrane strain?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Did you have a question or comment?
I have read it, and I have spent a lot of time trying to decide about this. I'm not terribly young and healthy, and I do kind of object to your reason for being let go at the state police, and I am going to recuse myself from this vote.
Sorry, Joel, did you want to ask a question or have a comment?
Well, thank you for applying for the position, and also congratulations on making it this far. My question is on more trying to understand your decision-making process. Can you tell me about a situation where you felt challenged and you ended up making a decision. It's an open question. Pick any incident or any event. And what was your decision? How did you came about it? What was your process of thinking?
Okay. Probably one of the more difficult situations I was involved in at the state was I was at the Springfield Barracks, and there was a shooting in front of the new casino on 91. They did it right in front of another trooper. So I was farther up in Chicopee. The call came out that there was a shooting. It was witnessed by another trooper. I had to, stay calm in that situation, and I kind of had to articulate where they would be, because I was coming the opposite way, and I kind of anticipated where they would be, and I took the quickest route I could, and they ended up crashing off from an exit, and I was there to support the fellow officer, because there wasn't too many troopers at the time out of that barracks that covered the area. So kind of a difficult situation where you kind of had to keep a cool head and kind of understand what's going on around you and anticipate where things are going to be so that you could be there to protect your coworkers and the public themselves. So I feel as though I handled that well, and I got to the right spot where I was supposed to be, and I helped apprehend 2 of them at the scene.
Thank you. And dovetailing on the previous conversation, is there anything that you do differently given the series of, sequence of things that you went through for your discharge?
So it's definitely unfortunate the way things panned out, but I have my own beliefs and I stood by them. And just to address your concern, ma'am, my grandmother's 94, and I take extreme caution being around my loved ones that may be susceptible. I've been tested countless times anytime I visit relatives. Many of my family have actually came down with it and had it previously. So I don't take for granted people's perceptions of the whole situation, but I do what I can to keep those around me safe.
Thank you. And a general question, if I may, I don't know if there are parameters to it, more of a question to Chief Bennett.
Yes.
In a situation like this, when there is a public call and one of the responders goes in unvaccinated or have to go.
If I may.
Able to discuss that, yeah.
Yes, I would.
Okay, that's why I asked what is the perimeter for this.
Okay.
Can I add one more thing just to your previous question, sir? I was just like to say, when the order came out in the very beginning of the pandemic, when they had the lockdowns and things like that, I still had to go to work every day and be out in the public. And it was a privilege to serve the public even in that time, even though there was a lot of unknowns. But then when the order came out, nothing changed besides a date. Even leading up to my suspension, they were still, forcing me on double. So it's difficult the way things panned out, but they had me working with wearing a mask, and if I was symptomatic, staying home, getting tests, things like that. So there was accommodations that could have been provided that I had been working 2 years prior with no issues. And I was at the first barracks that had an outbreak, and I never came down with it and did not affect anyone at my barracks. But there is precautions I could take to keep others safe, and that's what I did for 2 years. So when the actual order came out, it was just a date that set it in stone that kind of got things rolling in that case.
Okay. So I'm going to ask one of the questions Maria put together here for us. If you were hired as a Hopkins police officer, what steps would you take to build trust and legitimacy with fellow officers and the community?
I'm a great teammate. The biggest thing is keeping your fellow employees safe and making sure you all go home at the end of the day. Being open with them, sharing experiences you've had, I feel definitely helps out others when they might not have had a certain call and dealt with the public in a certain way. You can kind of build off of each other and understand from previous experiences that other officers have had. Mainly being open and honest with my fellow officers, I'd say.
Okay, thank you. And I will, piggyback on the others that I'm a little uncomfortable with the dishonorable discharge situation here. Okay, so are we done with questions?
I guess I really want to make sure that, that we also communicate that, our trust and investment in the process and the people who interview you. You present very well, and I appreciate that. I wonder, Chief Bennett, if you want to speak to where your confidence is in this situation and why you're so confident that he will be a good addition to our force, because that means a lot to us.
Sure. So as the department head, we did a thorough background, and other than that instance, that decision he made, nothing came up. Honorable service in the Marine Corps. As he said, he was a firefighter. He presents as somebody as a service-oriented person. Nothing raised any red flags on any social media that belief is tied to anything other than the belief that he didn't want to get it. So we do not have a vaccine mandate in town, and we have employees that are unvaccinated, and we don't ask, and it wouldn't, at my level as a department head, I felt that it was the appropriate thing to do to bring him forward.
Can I dovetail on that? Just in general, so thank you for clarifying that. On that note, do you feel you have come up with the best, I know you have, that's why we are having this discussion, with the best criteria and the selection through this candidate and the other one?
Yes, so we do first round interviews with a set series of questions. The second round interview is fit-based, so when Maria and the deputy and I meet with the person, we're trying to build a team. Well, does the person fit in with the team? And do they share our values and beliefs? And in every response, both of these candidates demonstrated those beliefs.
Thank you.
You looking for a motion?
I guess so, yes.
So I just want to say that I was very candid about the fact that I twist about this a little bit, right? And it's not so much a judgment, but it's a thing that carries forward with you. I think that you present very well. So as I make this motion to approve your appointment as a police officer in Hopkinton, I want you to know that I do it fully without reservation. So I appreciate your candor and your willingness to speak to us. So I am making the motion to support and approve this hire.
I second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstain?
I'm going to abstain.
I abstain.
Welcome aboard.
Okay.
Thank you. Welcome on board. Congratulations.
I did.
Okay, no, I didn't hear you. I just wanted to ask.
Welcome to Hopkinton.
Did Assan abstain?
No, he voted, or you both abstained.
Madam Chair, I just need some water.
I heard somebody else say they abstained, so.
It was 3 yes and 2 abstain. Okay, so there is another candidate, Alexander Stewart. We'll wait for the chief to come back.
Just waiting for the chief to come back, yeah.
It just doesn't. And I kept going over it.
Oh, baby.
This isn't fair. Oh, come on. Talk about it.
We're interviewing the baby.
Yeah. This is, I don't agree with these tactics.
Sorry for the delay, I just needed some water. Through the chair, I'd like to introduce you to Alex Stewart. Alex went through the comprehensive process and background check. He comes to us academy trained, and I think he'll be an excellent fit within the organization.
Thank you. Okay, so welcome, and so should we Maria reminded us that it's best to ask the same type of question to each candidate that comes before us tonight, so if we could all try to ask a similar,
Same one?
same or.
Same one or
Yeah.
from the list?
Oh, that's easy.
Yeah. Okay. So, Irfan, you want to go first?
Sure. Welcome, Alexander. So the town of Hopkinton has adopted the pledge, principles, and actions on systemic racism in our community and other communities. That pledge reaffirms Hopkinton's ongoing commitment to address systemic racism, social injustice and inequity in our governance, and provisions of services to Hopkinton residents and businesses. In what ways do you think you could help to support that pledge?
Ways that I can help support that pledge is, I come from a very diverse background. My family is Lebanese. My dad is Jamaican, and I come from a very diverse background, and I know how to deal with different type of people. I went to college. I played on a football team in college, so it's a different type of background, and I know how to speak to everyone, and I can help anyone in any way possible.
So I think, and I did this last time too, I appreciate your background and your ability to speak to people, but I think what we're really looking at is the systemic aspect of racism, and how can we kind of tear it all apart and put it back together again to address it.
It starts off by having that hard conversation, those conversations that we don't want to have. That's how you start to tear it down.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Okay, and then I think Muriel went next last.
So I'm woefully, I don't follow directions very well, I have to say, unfortunately. Is this your beautiful family behind you? How old are your little ones?
5 and 3 months on Friday.
5 and 3 months on Friday, so not quite yet. Congratulations to you and your family. So this is one of my favorite questions, and I always ask it, and I think I asked it last time in my own fashion. What is it that interests you about community policing and policing here in Hopkinton in particular? And what are you looking for? It's a big, long question. I'm famous for these, I'm sorry. And what are you looking for in terms of support from the community?
Well, first, I'm huge in community policing. It was a police officer who actually brought me into, he was a community outreach officer, and my family, I come from a very not wealthy family, and we had troubles with finance and things of that sort, and he kind of helped my family out, and I want to bring that aspect to Hopkinton, and little kids who may not have it, find a way, whether it's grants or anything that we can do to help that lower level family, bring them back up.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
And I don't remember who went next. Was it Mary Jo?
Mary Jo went next.
Yeah.
Well, what I would like to know is what you know about Hopkinton. What made you pick Hopkinton as a town to come to?
I know a lot about Hopkinton. I've been doing my research quite a while. When I've been in this process, I know you guys are at the start of the marathon. I know that you guys are growing, and I know it's 40% white, 40% Asian, I want to say, and it's a growing town that I want to be a part of.
Thank you. Should I go?
Thank you.
Do you have a connection to the department?
Also, I have a connection to the department. One of my close buddies, Bassett, actually works for them.
Oh, great.
Again, we talk about those recruitment bonuses, Chief.
Keep it up.
Nothing to do with it.
Same question, I think, which is, tell me about a situation, a challenging situation where you had to make a decision, and how did you came up with the decision, your thinking process?
Sorry, can you repeat that question?
Tell me about a situation where you had to make a tough decision, and in making that decision, how did you came about analyzing the situation and coming to the decision?
So when I was 17, I lost my mom instantly, and I had the opportunity to stay local for college or come here to Massachusetts. And at that time, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. So I just prayed, and I'm a very I go to church, so I'm a very thoughtful, and I look for God for answers and things of that sort. So, and I just pray about certain situations if that doesn't need immediate action, and I just live with the decision I make.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pick any situation where you needed some critical thinking or analysis?
Yeah, so when I was working previously at Springfield College, it was a kid who he needed mental help, and our counselors weren't on shift, so I did the counsel on call to get him the help that he needed right away.
Thank you.
Okay, and then I'll ask the same question I asked before. If you were hired as a Hopkins police officer, what steps would you take to build trust and legitimacy with the fellow officers in the community?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Yeah, sorry. If you were hired as a Hopkins police officer, what steps would you take to build trust and legitimacy with the fellow officers and the community?
Well, I'll always be myself, never change or never be anything that I'm not, and just let them know that I'm always here for them, no matter what situation or whatever they're going through, that they always can count on me.
Okay, thank you. All right, is there any more questions or discussion?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay. And anything else to add, Chief? Or we're good?
Nope.
Okay. All right, so someone like to make a motion?
Yeah, make a motion that we accept Alexander Stewart as a Hopkinton police officer.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstain? Okay. Welcome.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome to town.
Good luck. That family, huh?
Okay, that's that.
Makes me think of grandkids there, Chief. Those little guys make me think of my grandkids.
Okay, our next item on the agenda is the Sustainable Green Committee has requested a change to their charge, and I think there's a representative here from the Green Committee tonight.
Yeah.
Oh,
We should go.
trying to decide who's going to come up. Could one of you come up and explain that a little bit? Unless Andrew's here.
Welcome to town.
Thank you.
Yeah. Do you want to come up, Linda? Yeah. Oh, sorry. Oh, we're going to. Yeah. Oh no, at the table to explain the change.
We're going to wake her up.
Yeah.
Enough of that. Okay. Sorry, crazy, creating a ruckus again.
Okay, that's fine, yep.
Okay. So could you introduce yourselves and just describe briefly the change to the charge that you're proposing?
Sure, can you hear me? I'm Linda Chuss, I'm the secretary on the Sustainable Green Committee. Amy Groves is here with me, she's the former secretary, and she actually wrote the charter change. We had a student member who was just an at-large board member for the past year or so, and she graduated, and rather than just open up a brand new position to anyone, we thought it might be a great idea if we had a new position that can replace that position, that one of the 15 seats, with a student only. So we would want this person who's on the board to be from the school community, and they would serve a 1-year term rather than a 3-year term. They would be a voting member, and the reason we want to do it is we really think it's important to keep the youth involved. We also happen to have a candidate who's here tonight to hopefully be selected. So that's basically it. Do you guys have any questions about that?
I read through it, and I don't think I particularly have questions, but for the public, I was just going to say, we could still have more than one youth member if more than one applied, but this would require that be at least one youth member. Okay.
Right, and this one couldn't be filled by someone who isn't a youth.
Okay, I think that is a good idea. I think young people are interested in the climate, and it's good to have that feedback.
Make the motion.
So, anyone else
I think it's a great
have
idea.
questions or comments?
I'm all about it.
All in.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right.
so we have a,
I move to modify the Sustainable Green Committee charge to designate one of its 15-member seats for a youth member age 19 or under.
I second that.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstain? Okay, and then next is our annual appointments, which is a long list of items here. Let's see. So the board has requested that applicants be prepared to make a 1-minute statement, and if not available, to send us an email in advance, and we did get a few of those. And so we'll start with the uncontested boards and committee seats, let's see, so which we would treat like the consent agenda, and they are listed in our packet. And let's see, so we would call on each uncontested candidate for a statement. We have Miao Chen, if, are they here in the room or on Zoom? Yes,
hello,
there she is.
everyone.
Okay.
Yes. Hi, nice to meet you. My name is Miao Chen. I started living in Hopkinton since last summer. I am married with 2 kids. I work as an IT professional at Microsoft for my day job. I'm interested in this affordable housing community because home is where the heart is. Therefore, housing and affordable housing is very important for the people whose heart belongs here. I also have a passion for social equality and eliminating social inequality. And I believe this community service opportunity will also help fulfill that goal. I have experience serving volunteer in Toastmasters Club for multiple years, as well as local Chinese church. I also would bring in a strong analytical perspective from my training. I love the city we live, and also as my family, and I would love to make a contribution by serving the community in this committee. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the uncontested appointment is Kawaja Assan for Historical Commission and Tax Relief Committee. And we did appoint, I'm not sure if he's here tonight. No. Or on the Zoom.
We did that last time.
Well, he's applied to several spots, so. Okay, so he doesn't look like he's here tonight. The next one is Stacy Spies for the Historical Commission.
It's warm in here. They're trying to kill us, Stacy. Come.
My name is Stacy Spies, 16 Alexander Road, and I am currently a member of the Historical Commission. I'm a professional historic preservation consultant. I have a master's degree in historic preservation, I think from 1994, so it's been a little while. I've been in private practice consulting since for 22 years. And what I usually do is I consult most often with other historical commissions in other towns. So I'm their professional consultant. So actually it's an interesting symbiotic sort of relationship. I learn a lot from helping other commissions solve their problems as well. You guys are getting me for free. And actually, I just finished my first term with Historical Commission, and I've really enjoyed it. I've really learned a lot more about this town where I've lived since 2009, but gotten to know a little more of the hidden corners of it. I've really enjoyed it.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next is Nanda Barker Hook for Historical Commission.
Hello, I'm Nanda Barker Hook. I'm 75 Grove Street. I have served on the Historical Commission for 2 terms, so this will be my 3rd term. I live in an antique home built in 1850 on Grove Street, so I really value historic homes, what they bring to our town, the legacy, the history, and I feel like it's more important than ever to try to protect them, especially as it seems that there's more interest in leveling historic homes and building new homes in their place. So I am currently working on gathering information to beef up our webpage on the town website. So we really want to make that a place where we can provide information about the projects we're working on, the successes we've had, and just be more transparent with residents. So I'm hoping to continue that in my next term.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next, John Cordillo for Hopkinton Historic District Commission.
This is for?
The Historic District Commission.
No.
Do you want to, you could apply to several. Okay, so do you want to not be appointed to Historic District?
That's correct.
Okay. All right, so we need some other people to apply. Uh-oh. Oh, dear. Okay, so next, Nicole Simpson for Sustainable Green Committee. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Nicole Simpson. I've lived in town for 8 years. I'm married with 2 kids. I work professionally as an engineering manager for Medtronic, a medical device company. And I'd like to join the Sustainable Green Committee because I've spent a lot of time over the past several years reading and learning about climate change, and I think it's one of the biggest challenges of our time. And I try to apply solutions in my own life and household, but I'd like to use what I've learned and share that with my community, and I think I could bring a lot of energy and enthusiasm into the Sustainable Green Committee. And I've already been a pretty active participant on the Facebook page, sharing some of my experiences. And I hope to have the opportunity to volunteer with this group.
Great. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next is Brendan Mcgowan for the Sustainable Green Committee. Welcome.
Hello. My name is Brendan Mcgowan. I am a rising senior at Hopkinton High School. I play for the football team. I've been attending Sustainable Green Committee meetings for a few months at this point, and I would like to join the Sustainable Green Committee because I think that it is important that youth such as myself have a voice in the path that this town takes in towards achieving long-term goals such as net zero emissions, becoming more sustainable in the short and long term, and also just generally protecting the natural environment of this beautiful town we call home. And also, when I go to college in a year's time, I'm going to be majoring in environmental science. So I believe that any experience gained from serving on the board would be invaluable for any future careers in that major.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you for stepping forward.
Okay, and then next is Priya Vasavudhan, and I believe she's on the Zoom here.
There she is.
There she is. Okay. All right, go ahead.
This is Priya Vasudevan from 22 Aspen Way. So this is my first time applying for the Green Committee. The idea behind my application was now that I've been in the town for 2 years, I'm loving the natural resources we have here, and I could see the areas where we can conserve energy and reuse and repurpose certain areas where I can chime in and I can devote my time as a volunteer to this committee. So also I applied. Okay. And it's absolutely fine if there are other competent members, because I applied for the other committee. So it's absolutely fine if this opportunity.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And I think you did apply for something else, so don't go too far. Okay, so do we have a motion to approve?
Yes.
Yeah, Meowtown for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Board expiring 6/30/2024. Ranjit Assan wasn't here, so should we wait till he responds? Because he did apply to other boards as well. Or should we?
We can, but when I read the statement, is looking to step out of their comfort zone. So I wonder if this is a little intimidating, and it'd be nice to just include them or not.
Okay.
So I'd be open to that.
Yeah,
So
I think we heard that kind of interested in multiple.
okay, and the thing is, if we did appoint him to several boards and he only wants to do one or two, he could turn them down, I guess, right?
Yeah,
If
it's
he wants to pick his two
not a life
favorites.
sentence, yeah.
Right, okay.
Sure.
Okay, so to appoint Kawaja Assan, Stacy Spies, and Nanda Barkerhook to the Historical Commission with terms expiring June 30th, 2025. And John Cardillo has opted out of the Historical District Commission, so we'll remove that one. And then Kawaja Hassan to the Tax Relief Committee with a term expiring June 30th, 2025. And then Nicole Simpson, Brendan Mcgowan as the youth member, and Priya Vasudevan to the Sustainable Green Committee for terms expiring, the youth term will expire in 1 year, so that's 2023. And then the other two will expire in June 30th, 2025.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and now we have the contested board seats. So we will review them individually. So the Capital Improvements Committee, there's 3 applicants, but only 1 vacancy. So I guess before we start the contested board seats, I did want to say that I think my general goal is to get everybody who applied for something on one board or another, even if in some cases there's more applicants than spots on the particular board they applied for. So I hope anyone who doesn't get a spot tonight will try again.
Yeah, we always hope.
We
that.
always hope that.
Because we want to, we want to make sure that people find a spot to volunteer if they're willing to volunteer,
Yeah.
and get an opportunity. So, so there are lots of openings still, and we can only appoint 1 person in this case, right? So.
Okay, so
It's a
Yitao
good
is
problem
on.
to have.
Yeah, it is. So Yitao is on Zoom. Is Mark Logan or Nate Oram here? Okay, so come on forward. And let's see.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, great. Do you want to go ahead and give a 1-minute introduction?
Sure. Okay, so my name is Ye Tao, and I live in 8 Nicholas Road. I've been living in this town for 8 years, and I'm a father of an 11-year-old boy. So I work as an engineering director in Dell Technologies here, Dell EMC. So I'm applying for a member for the youth commission here, out of my own social responsibility, and I wanted to take this chance to educate my son, to show him why we should and how we can contribute to the community. And because of the age of my son, I hope to contribute to build a healthy environment for the entire youth community in Hopkinton. And especially I hope to help to reduce the screen time for the youth and push them for more outdoor activities. This, I think, is a common problem. So, of course, I think if I can join this commission, will help to increase the diversity of this commission. And so I come from China, and you can see I never served in any committee, and this is my very first time, and I hope I can contribute.
Okay. Can I clarify? We had you down as applying for the Capital Improvement Committee, but I think you mentioned Youth Commission there too. Is that?
And I don't see him as on the youth commission as an applicant.
Were you interested in both?
I don't see you on the Youth Commission now.
Sorry, were you interested in both Capital Improvements Committee and the Youth Commission? Is that?
The youth commission is my primary interest.
Okay.
And,
So it might be a mistake in our agenda then. Okay.
It's a mistake, yeah.
Okay. All right. And then Mark Logan, come on forward. Okay.
Good evening, everybody. Mark Logan, 5 Falcon Ridge. So I had applied for several of the committees as well, so I'm not sure if you'd like me to speak to capital improvement or just in general.
It is helpful for us to know if you would serve on more than one and if you have a preference, if you only want to do
So
one.
I would be certainly willing to serve on more than one, and of those, I actually don't have a preference, and I can explain a little bit.
Okay, so which ones, you applied for capital
Capital improvement, community preservation, but I believe that one had been filled
one
at a
was
previous
filled.
meeting, and personnel as well as appropriations. I believe appropriations is not up for.
Okay, and we're not doing appropriations tonight, but, okay, so just tell us about yourself then.
Right, okay. So, Mark Logan, 5 Falcon Ridge. My wife and 3 boys and I moved to Hopkinton a little over a year ago. So yes, we are one of the many newbies who are in town, but we've really engaged the opportunities that we've had. Many activities, been involved in the schools, coaching youth sports. So, you know, we really invest in where we live, and that's what we want to do here. Grew up since, as a teenager, my mother, back to the question you had for a candidate, what's your why? My mother from an early age was, you will leave the world a better place than you found it. And we grew up in a very difficult place.
feel like
And
I like your
however,
mother already.
so it's lived with me. No matter where I've lived, I've always had volunteer service on boards, commissions, committees, with towns, with organizations, nonprofits. It is my why. It's giving back. I love working, but I also love to give back and make sure that I'm helping to improve the community and the lives of others. I think when you look at the committees that I applied to, I've been mostly involved with youth and underprivileged populations over the years, but I've also led a multi-million-dollar organization with capital improvements, operating budgets, capital budgets. I now run my own small business, growing business in Lexington, so I have that type of experience as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And then I don't see Nate Oram on Zoom, and I don't think he's here. Okay, so I think, so the procedure is when it's a contested spot, if we each say who we prefer, then we will make a nomination.
I have one question though, Elaine. Did we hear from Mcgowan by letter or email or anything? Okay.
Okay.
So I would nominate.
So you want to do the runoff, and so who we prefer?
We should state who we prefer first, I believe, is the process, so. Do you want me to go? You want me to
I'll go first.
Okay.
Mark Logan.
You're looking at me? I'm sorry. I'll support Mark Logan, too. I would like to say that I have appreciated Nate's service as well, so I don't want to not say that out loud. The Capital Improvements Committee is a really important role, and he's done a really great job.
Okay.
And I will nominate Mark Logan also. And again, thank Nate Oram for all of his work and dedication.
Yeah, I would nominate Mark Logan as well, and thanks to Nate Oram for all the service. It wasn't, of course, it was a lot of work. Thank you for all the good work.
And I agree, and since Yitao was more interested in Youth Commission, I think this is a
We need a
good fit for
motion?
Mark. Yep, so now we need a motion?
I move we appoint Mark Oram to the Capital Improvement Committee for a term expiring 6/30/2025.
Okay.
Second.
We got to get the name right, though.
Did I say Mark Logan? What did I say?
You said Mark Oram.
Oh, Mark Logan. I'm mixing the two up.
Okay, so Mark Logan. correct?
Logan, yes.
Okay.
Second.
Capital Improvements. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed or abstain? Okay, Conservation Commission, there is one vacancy and 2 applicants. So Jim Cirillo could not be here tonight. There was a death in the family. And is Jamie Ronka here on Zoom or on Zoom? She is on Zoom.
Jamie.
Okay. So if we could liven Jamie up. Okay, Jamie, do you want to give us a 1-minute introduction and why you want to serve on the committee? There.
Yes, so actually, I had not realized when I applied that it was Jim Cirillo who was up for reappointment. I served with Jim on CONCOM for 3 years during my first appointment to it, and I really enjoyed it and learned a lot from Jim. So I'm actually withdrawing my application. If there are other boards that need volunteers, I am happy to serve. I also served a 3-year term on Trail Coordination and Management Committee. Professionally, I'm an occupational therapist. I've worked in home health in the area for the last 7 years. And starting in the fall, I'll be teaching at Worcester State in their OT program as a visiting instructor. So I'm happy to help the town in any way, but I'd like to see my application to Jim's spot.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, since Jamie would rather cede her spot to Jim, I think that makes it an easier decision. And there will be a list of other openings at the end of this meeting. I think there are some left over, so we can give Jamie a new list after tonight. So I'd be seeking a motion to appoint,
Okay. I move to appoint Jim Cirillo to the Conservation Commission for the term expiring 6/30/2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstain? Okay, next up is the Lake Maspinock Weed Management and Control Advisory Group, 1 vacancy and 3 applicants. So this is also going to be a tough one here. So is Evan Strickland, Paula Garland, or Andrew Davis here, or on Zoom? Looks like Andrew Davis is on Zoom. Oh, come on up. You want to come to the table? Okay.
No, we did that book once.
Okay, so Paula's here in person. We'll have her go first.
Hi, I'm Paula Garland, and I live at 50 Downey. I'm on the lake, and I happen to be where I think most weeds are on the lake. So I have a vested interest in the weed population. And I've also spent some time with Cynthia Nestheimer, who was on who recently withdrew or retired or whatever. And I've done a lot of research on this. And in addition, I'm a member of the LMPA, like Maspinock Preservation Association. And I think it would be a good idea to have somebody from LMPA on the weed committee. I've put together a document to share with the weed committee of best practices for people around the lake in terms of what kind of fertilizer to use and what to do with their leaves and how to do a yard cleanup, the kind of things that are best for preventing the weeds from growing, and how everybody can do their part to help with the weed problem. And I am for whatever is the best and safest way that we can at least eliminate as much of the weed problem as we can, and especially the invasive weeds. And I'm just willing to do whatever I can to help with that, because I think
You've passed your 1 minute, so if you want to finish your thought.
I'm passionate about this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. And next, we have Andy Davis, I think. Do you want to go ahead?
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Yes.
So I also live on the lake. I've lived here for 12 years. Lake Maspinock is a beautiful community lake that is used by so many people. And unfortunately, I've watched the weeds grow. Over 12 years, so many theories on how to deal with the weeds that have not been successful. So I live on the north side. I live at 203 West Main Street, which is on the northern side. And unfortunately, live in an area where the weeds are washing up on the shore, literally on a day-to-day basis. And I've watched what I think is a beautiful lake turn into basically an unusable lake, where people in my family are not willing to go swimming. I would love to put in the time and effort to come up with a permanent solution to deal with the weeds. I think the weeds are not only a health factor, but they are a safety factor. We have a public beach where we have little kids swimming in the lake, and we want to make sure that they're safe and that whatever we need to do. I am not a scientist, but I have been on a lot of boards, from Worcester State Foundation to Better Business Bureau. I also understand how to do research and bring in professional people to make sure that we come up with a decision that is safe for the lake, that is going to be a long-term solution for the weeds, and to really make this lake what it could be for the community. I love Hopkinton, and I just want this lake to be the best we could do.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, and then I don't see Evan Strickland here or on the Zoom. Okay, did he send us a note, or that he would not be able to attend? Okay. Okay, so again, then since it's a contested seat, we should all go around and say who we prefer, and then we'll make a motion. I looked all three of them up before, and I was really impressed that they all lived very close to the lake, and I could see why it was important to them to win the committee. So it's a very tough choice.
Want to start again?
Begin? Yep.
All right. I would go with Paula Garland.
I would go with Paula.
I was impressed, and I think we should have a member of the Lake Maspinock Association on this board. So I go with Paula.
Okay.
I'd go with Paula and appreciate
Yeah.
the interest, of course.
I agree, but I really appreciated both of the people who presented tonight, their interest, so I hope we can find another role, maybe some, close to the lake for Andy Davis too. But, okay, so we need a motion?
I move to appoint Paula Garland to the Lake Maspinock Weed Management Control Advisory Group for the life of the project.
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstain? Okay, for the Marathon Committee, this is a big one. Only 2 vacancies, but there are 8 applicants. So, so who do we have here in the room? Taylor Ann Astupian, Sudhir Bendagari, Ravi Dasari, John Cardillo, Christiane Connell, and Paula Garland. So any of you who are here in the room, please feel free to come to the table. I don't know how many are here, so I'd see John and, oh, and also, sorry, seeking reappointment, we have Adam Monroe and Tab Cadlick, sorry. So, looks like there are 3 of you in the room. Do you want to all come up?
Tab Cadlick.
He's here too, okay. So. Mm-hmm. Okay, so, since we, do you want to have, John, do you want to come first?
You want us all 3?
I think, well, it looks like there's 4. Are you comfortable, all 4?
Before we start, can I say a few words? The Marathon Committee is a different committee, but, and I've said that before, so I'm not going to rely on that point tonight. But I was on it for many, many years. And I just want people to understand because we've had a lot of people join and find out what they have to do and leave and say, this isn't what I had in mind. Because the majority of the board of the Marathon Committee never get to see the start or the Boston Marathon. They never do because they're out on South Street doing parking. They're down at the Athletes Training Center, picking up clothes, doing coffee, doing whatever they do a lot of things down there, VIP security, and they can't come downtown till the last of Wave 4 have left. And so there's only maybe 2 people that I know of on the Marathon Committee that have work downtown, that get to see what goes on and start of the race. And I myself was in charge of elite security for many years, and I never saw the women start.
Okay,
Because
so
I
that's
was always getting the men ready. So if you're going to join this committee, don't join it with the idea that you're going to have fun and games and see the race and do all that kind of stuff, because you're not. I also have one other recommendation. I was talking to Dory Ferreter this weekend, and she said she has plenty of jobs for people who want to volunteer. You have to get in touch with her before the fall or during the fall, because she's got to put these names into the BAA for an okay, and that's usually in January. So I advise you, if you don't get accepted or elected tonight, give her a call and volunteer that way.
Okay, so I would like to hear from all the applicants, and I guess that is good background to know that a little bit more about the position for people who didn't know. But yeah, with 2 vacancies and 8 applicants, not everyone can be appointed, but it's good to know that they could be a volunteer.
I'm sorry, can I ask a really fast question? Is the term length 2 years always?
For the Marathon Committee?
2 years is odd, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
2025.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so John, do you want to come up? And maybe Paula? Yep.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so the same thing about 1 minute about your interest in the committee. Go for it.
I'm going to read from some notes so I don't forget. Hold on 1 second. My name's John Cardillo. I live at 84 Winter Street, formerly of 6 Ralph Road and 10 Jamie Lane. I've lived in Hopkinton for 25 years. I volunteered at the marathon for 10 of those years. I started in 2001, took a little bit of a break, got out of town, decided to come back, and actually didn't leave town, but got out of town when the marathon was going. And came back, and for the last 9 years, I've been a volunteer. I started up at the Village, Athletes Village, and I worked my way down the corrals, and I was at the start line the last marathon. I've been very involved here in Hopkinton with volunteerism, baseball. I was on the board for 2 years and coached soccer, coached for 2 years, for 6+ years actually, for both my son and daughter. You have appointed me already to the Cultural Council and the Woodville Historic Commission. I hope there is not a sense that that's too much, because I would love to be involved. I'm retired. I was in corporate IT for 25 years, and I've got all kinds of time. So
Okay.
I would love the opportunity to
even do 3, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've passed your minute now, so we'll go ahead and let Paula have the floor.
I'm also an old IT person, and I'm a veteran of over 30 marathons, and I've run Boston, eight of those I ran at Boston. But for the last 22 years, since I've moved to Hopkinton, I've volunteered at Boston. And this last year so I've worked for Barbara Sacuso always, but this last year I was at the, I was on, what street did you say that was? The side street. I was working for the people here in town, where you don't see the race at all. You just hear it. And you're guiding the buses and the elite athletes and everything. So I've done all kinds of jobs for the marathon, so I know exactly what you're talking about. You don't see anything, and that's totally fine with me. This is the first time I've ever actually worked in Hopkinton, which was kind of cool, because normally I'm in Boston or whatever. So I understand what that means, and I just think it's cool. And it's a way for me as a former runner to give back, and that's really my goal in doing that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, and then we have Tab Cadlick and Adam Monroe here, if you want to come forward. Okay, Adam just sat down first. Do you want to go first? About 1 minute, about why you want to be in the committee?
Certainly. My name is Adam Monroe. As far as work, I am a nurse. I've been a nurse for 12 years now. I've lived in Hopkinton for about 12 years. We actually live in the home that my wife grew up in, so we have strong ties to the community. My family has been involved with the marathon for, altogether probably the better part of half a century. Okay?
Yeah.
My father-in-law before me actually got me interested in volunteering for the marathon, where I've been for the past 10 years, volunteering in various capacities up in the village. So I spent the first 7, 8, 9 years not seeing it, but enjoying getting to see all those runners go before and know that they're out for, sometimes it's a charity, sometimes it's a personal goal. So to be able to support them in that way gives me satisfaction, because going back to nursing, as a nurse, I don't want to be in the limelight. I practice patient-centered care. It's not about me, it's about the patient. And in this case, it's not about me, it's about supporting my team, and it's about supporting the runners and the elite athletes. So that's why I want to continue on the board.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and Tab?
Tab Cadlick. My day job is over at Dell EMC, work as a facilities manager. I've been over there going on 30 years now. Started volunteering at least 18 years ago when first they approved the use of the lots on South Street. For the last 10 years, I've been managing the race day operations for the South Street lots. We developed some really good traffic flow plans and parking plans and all that stuff, which is still being used. And for the last 3 years, I've been on the committee, and just enjoy what we do.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
Thank
and
you.
then there were others, that, I don't know if they might be on Zoom.
Through the chair, Ravi Desai actually reached out and said he's withdrawing, but he would stay interested in future and for other committees.
Okay, Ravi pulled out his name. Okay, and I don't see Sudhir or, is Chrisanne Connell here? I don't think I see her. And,
I'm here.
she is, oh, there, go ahead. Go ahead and give us 1 minute introduction. Yep.
Hi. I also applied for a couple other committees, so again, I'm happy to serve on anywhere that needs more help. But I applied for the Boston Marathon Committee because I'm a lifelong runner, lover of the Boston Marathon. I went to BC, was always on Heartbreak Hill cheering everyone on. I trained for the marathon, unfortunately broke my foot the week before, so I have not run it. But, you know, having lived in Hopkinton for the last about almost a decade, and run the streets many times where the Boston Marathon's run, it's something near and dear to my heart. And the logistical side of it is actually another reason why I was interested in volunteering. I, in a prior life, used to work for a communications company that worked in organizing and deploying large-scale events like the Democratic National Convention, Team Harmony, large women's conferences, and other public events that required a lot of logistical and organizational and diplomatic skills. So I'd love to bring that side of my career to help and give back to the town and try to make it as smooth of an event as possible.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's, so that was Chrisanne. We've heard from John. Sudhir, I don't think is on. There is one person calling on the phone. I don't know if that might be one of the applicants. How did they raise their hand when they're on a phone call?
It's not.
What's it?
He's saying it's not.
What? He says it's not.
He says
Okay,
not.
great. Okay. Okay, so we don't have Taylor, Sudhir, or, and Ravi has dropped out. Okay. So this one, and Dorothy Fairder has her hand up, so I think she's the committee chair. I think we could let her speak briefly too, but she sent us a letter as well, so I think we all read that. So we could liven Dorothy up, please. Okay,
She
there
on?
she is. She seems to be on. Let's see if she's muted.
Oh, his daughter, Dorothy's on.
Okay, Dorothy's on mute. If you could unmute.
Unmute, Dottie.
Well,
Okay, well, we did get her letter today, so.
We got the letter,
we
yeah.
Get her unmuted. We can go ahead. Okay, so the same process. There are 2 vacancies with a lot of applicants. So I guess we should each go around and say who our top 2 are. And then, does that make sense? And then if there's anyone with a majority.
someone else want to go first?
I don't mind going first. I would support Adam and Tab to continue. I really appreciate, you can all understand how hard this is, because I really appreciate individual dedication, and I struggle a little bit with making sure that we have opportunities for new people to get involved, particularly for something that is so obviously so near and dear to everybody in the town and people's hearts. So I really, I know that people are already volunteering, but I think that we need to make sure that we encourage that avenue and succession planning when possible. So Adam and Tab.
I agree with the preamble, and I agree with Adam and Tab.
I nominate Adam and Tab. But all the rest of you are great candidates. Please call Dottie and volunteer through that way.
Yeah, I nominate Adam and Tab as well, and thank you for your service. And I want to thank all the other applicants as well, and encourage everyone, please continue to look for opportunities in other boards as well as here. And I do echo also that we do need to think about succession planning and do need to think about continuity, so there is, new people comes in and learns and gets to acclimate. So being volunteer is one venue, certainly, and we'll also look for opportunity how to interject new, fresh people into this.
Yeah, I agree, and I was really impressed with all the candidates, all had some kind of marathon volunteer experience already, so this makes it a very difficult decision, but I do hope that everyone can volunteer this year so that next time there's an opening, we can take one of the new people for the new spot. So we can give Dorothy's contact information to the other candidates, I think. Okay, so now we need a motion?
Madam Chair, I move to appoint Adam Monroe and Tab Cadlick to the Marathon Committee to terms expiring June 30th, 2025.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstain? Okay, Open Space Preservation Committee, there's one vacancy and 2 applicants. So there's... Oh.
Dorothy?
So we're all done with that one, so...
we can move.
She's online.
Okay, and so next, so Nancy Peters is seeking reappointment, and Sujay Karad may not be able to attend tonight, but is a new applicant. Is Nancy, I didn't see Nancy Peters, is she on the Zoom? No, okay. Okay, so then, let's see, so I guess we need to go around and state our preference for the 2, or if we'd like to wait till they can come in person.
So I will say candidly that I would support Nancy, but it's because I know her really well and I know her dedication to the committee over decades, not years. But I also struggle with the desire to bring in new people. So very confident in Nancy. She's very knowledgeable and is a real contributor and a real worker on the committee. So I would be comfortable supporting Nancy.
Okay.
Nancy.
Yeah, I would nominate Nancy because I've known her and she's been a stalwart to the town for many, many years.
I would nominate Nancy as well.
Yeah, I agree. I've known Nancy from the Woodville Historic District Commission too, and I know she's dedicated. But I hope we can find another spot for Sujay at another meeting. Okay, so we need a motion?
I will move that we appoint Nancy Peters to the Open Space Preservation Commission to the term expiring 6/30/27, 2/27.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstain? Okay, now Personnel Committee. Oh, so I'm going to let Mary Jo lead this one because I have a conflict of interest with one of the applicants. So I will step out of the room.
Okay. We have Mark Logan and Patricia Senecal. Either one of them's here. Mark is still here. Patricia?
She sent an email.
She sent an email. Okay, I don't have the emails.
It's in our inbox this morning.
I know, and I read it, but I don't have it in front of me to read.
Let's come on back up.
Huh?
Didn't know if you wanted to do it. No, I saw you like, not sure.
Yep.
So I guess you're here for the,
Why?
we already brought you on for one. So Personnel Committee.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, I saw the Personnel Committee, so there might be a vacancy there. Like I had mentioned, I've run a large organization with hundreds of employees and down to currently now with 35 employees. Relationships, people, that's what makes everything work. I've really taken a very strong interest over the years to ensure that employees, you know, engage, they have voice, there's process, there's due process, there's transparency. So I felt it would be something if there were a need for the committee and for the town for somebody with my experience at that committee, I'd be very happy to lend that expertise. But I certainly understand you have an incumbent in place, and that's understandable.
Thank you very much. And now I just want to say that Patricia Senecal has sent us a statement and of her interest in continuing to contribute to the town and the Personnel Committee.
So we have a contested seat again, so do you want to do the same procedure?
Yes, we have to go.
I don't mind going first. Mark, I'd love to have a spot for you, man, on any committee, but I am going to nominate Patricia.
Patricia as well.
And I have to go with Patricia as well.
I'll go for Patricia as well, and Mark, thank you. And
Madam Chair.
having you on the CPC.
Madam Chair, I move to appoint Patricia Sinical to the Personnel Committee to a term expiring June 30th, 2025.
I second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Call Amy back.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Call her.
There you go.
everybody's taking a break.
Where is the central air in this room?
Yeah, there isn't.
Going to perish.
We can open these windows, so I don't know if anybody did.
They are open.
Maybe it's bad.
It's nice and cool in the hallway.
Okay, so Personnel Committee is all set?
Yeah.
Okay, and who was appointed?
Patricia Senical has been re-elected,
Okay.
reappointed.
Okay, next up is the Trail Coordination Management Committee, 3 vacancies and 5 applicants. So do we have here Charles Doushie, Ken Parker, John Fitzgerald, Christiane Connell, or Linda Chess? Linda's here, and yep, and Chuck. Come on up. Do you want to both come up? And then I didn't see Ken Parker.
Supposed to be on Zoom.
Oh, there he is. Okay.
Great.
Perfect. Okay, so do you want to go ahead, Charles? Yeah.
Madam Chair and the board, my name is Chuck Dauchi, 25 Sanctuary Lane, currently a member of the TCMC. Moved here 5 years ago, having retired from a background in environmental consulting, site design, planning, stormwater management, and a number of skills that I found useful in the TCMC work. On the committee, I've been the point person with the town GIS to begin to develop overall town trail mapping, and I have prepared what our mapping needs are. I managed to sort of teach myself GIS enough to at least fill some of our needs. I am also a member of the Trails Club and on the HALT Board of Directors. And I've been principally responsible for construction of about 2.5 miles of new trails on Fruit Street and the Pratt Farm area. Was involved in the execution of new substitute trails in the Chamberlain-Whalen subdivision.
So you're past your 1 minute now, so if you want to
I'd
wrap that up.
hang in there and keep going.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so Linda?
So you can see me smile, I'll take it off. So I'm still in Chus. I live at 11 School Street. I've been in town for 20 years. I joined the Trails Club last fall, and I've been an active participant volunteering on work days, attending the walks. I'm leading a walk this month. And I've met the people on the Trails Management Coordination Committee, Chuck and the rest of them, and it's a well-oiled machine. I don't know what I could bring to it, honestly, but being there, we need bodies, we need people, so I think I would be bring the passion, and also I have a lot to learn, but I would like to help the trails become more used. I think we've got great trails, but I'm not sure we're reaching out enough to all of the community. So that would be the particular role I might play, because this well-oiled machine knows way more than I do, and I'll be in a learning mode for that. So that's my interest. Thank you.
Okay, and Ken Parker is on Zoom. Ken, do you want to give us an introduction?
Yeah, so you can hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
This is Ken Parker, 69 Clinton Street. I've been on TCMC. I'm also on the Upper Charles Trails Committee, Sustainable Green, and an active member of the Trails Club, and also on the board of the Hopkinen Area Land Trust. And my interest is in making the trails available to the public and trying to encourage people to go. And I'm an active user of the trails. I go on trails pretty much twice a week at least with my daughter. That said, I've got my hands full, and I welcome other people to contribute to the actual committee membership. And I certainly support Chuck as retaining his membership. He's a very crucial person on the trails, on the TCMC, and I know Linda, and I don't actually know who else is running for the seats, but I'm in favor of encouraging more people to contribute to the trail system, and I'm going to be contributing to the trail system in a fairly major way, whether I'm on TCMC or not. So, for example, I'm going to be leading a hike, co-leading a hike at 6 o'clock Thursday in Legacy Farm South, together with some of the people from the library. So let's continue to hear who else is running.
Thank you, Gil.
Thank you. Okay, and I think Chrisanne Connell is still on the Zoom.
Let me just start my video up again. Hi. So again, I'm Chrisanne Connell, 8 Nona Pass, literally coming to you from the woods right now. So I've lived along the trail system in Hopkinton for about 9 years now, first over by Lake Maspinock and the Peppercorn Hill area, and now are currently directly along the Lake Hall Trail system with my husband and our 2 young kids, ages 3 and 5. I would love to give back and contribute to the community by promoting and sustaining our amazing trails for people in Hopkinton and beyond that come to use them. Being active in nature in all stages of life is one of my core values that I hope to instill in my children and within the greater community. And as such, our preschoolers have attended Wildwood, which is an outdoor preschool that is awesome in town. It's on the YMCA Hopkinton property. They hike there a lot. Families hike there a lot. And through this experience of being truly outdoors in town in all types of weather, all seasons, it's further instilled in me this desire to promote an inclusive, year-round outdoor experience in our beautiful town. Also, watching how much my kids have enjoyed hiking, I would love to get young kids involved, more active in hiking in town via either promoting or publishing more kid-friendly hikes, or through leading hikes with young children. So whether it's hiking, running, biking, bird watching, frog spotting, and the many ponds and streams along the trails, there's so much nature to marvel at in our town, and I would love to be part of sustaining and managing it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and I don't see John Fitzgerald either in the room or on the Zoom, I don't think. Okay, so now, there are, and we didn't get a note from him, I don't think. Okay, but 3 vacancies and 5 applicants, so I guess we need to each state our preference for which 3 to appoint tonight. And
I'll
sounded like Ken.
Hey, I will allow Chrisanne to take over if she's really up for that.
I think that's really
But I'll let you guys decide between Chrisanne and John and everyone else as well. But I've got my hands full, and as I said, I'll continue to contribute no matter what.
So I think that's really gracious of you, Ken.
Thank you, Ken.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So I would support Charles, Linda, and Chrisanne.
Charles, Linda, and Chrisanne.
I'll do Charles, Linda, and Chrisanne. I liked what Chrisanne, some of her ideas and what she had to say.
Yeah, I would support Charles, Linda, and Chrisanne as well.
Yeah, I agree, and I appreciate Ken being willing to
Absolutely.
pass the baton.
Most definitely.
And I know he will be
Yeoman
involved.
Service. He has done yeoman service.
Very gracious and thoughtful.
Okay, so we need a motion to appoint Chrisanne Connell, Linda Chess, and Chuck Doshi to the Trail Coordination Management Committee to terms expiring 6/30/2025.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstained? Okay. Okay, next is Upper Charles Trail Committee. We appointed some last time, but there's one alternate member vacancy still left with 2 applicants. Is either Craig Martin or Taylor Ann Estupinian either in the room or on Zoom? And did we get a note from either of them why they couldn't come? So do we want to hold off till?
Yeah, I'm fine holding off.
This is just for the alternate member?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we hold off.
Yeah, I think I'm comfortable holding off too. Okay, so we'll skip that one. Okay, next is Youth Commission. There are 3 vacancies and 5 applicants, and it sounds like Gitao has also attended to apply for it, so I
Yeah,
think we really
Gitao
are.
did.
Yeah.
So that makes, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so really 6. Okay, so we'd like everyone to, and I know the chair of the Youth Commission is here. Kelly, did you want to speak first, or? Okay. Hi.
Hi.
Kelly Clark, 9 I am the chair of the Hopkins Youth Commission, but I also just wanted to speak also on a personal basis, if that's okay. I'm not really sure what the protocol is for speaking. I don't want to necessarily speak in.
So you're not speaking for the committee?
I'm not speaking for the board.
Right.
But I did want to say that Priya Masudavan is up for reappointment. She has been on the board. She's been a great contributor to the board, and I hope that you will consider her reappointment. I've also had conversations with 2 other people. Asha Sharon reached out to me directly, and we had a very nice conversation, and Asha shared with me her reasoning for wanting to join the board. She has a real interest in the committee because we support the youth in town. That's a passion for her. We really connected, so I just wanted to put my recommendation in for Asha. And I also wanted to mention that I received a note from Ashley Fogg, and also had a conversation with Ashley. I really love what Ashley had to say. I think Ashley would bring a really nice voice to the committee. So I'm also here in favor of Ashley as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Can
you.
I ask a really fast question?
Of course.
Yeah, so I'm super excited that there's so much interest in the Youth Commission. I'm really glad that you got on board, and there's a really wonderful energy that's happening.
Yes.
Do you foresee the opportunity for people to get involved and volunteer, even if they're not necessarily on the committee proper?
Yeah, so it's interesting that you asked that question because I have a vision. We've talked about it in some of our meetings, but I do want the committee, and I was kind of waiting until after this appointment to kind of solidify everything, but I want us to do some more kind of retreat type situation to kind of really sit down and look at what we want the committee to look like on a go-forward basis. What that would mean from a volunteer perspective, what that would mean from a makeup perspective, whether or not we are including more youth in our makeup. There's a lot of things that I have in mind. So we haven't hashed all of that out, but to answer your question, yes, I think volunteerism, would definitely be on the board for discussion on how we can make that a broader appeal to the town.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and so some of the applicants are here. So I see Asha and Ashley, and do you want to come forward first, and we'll have 2 at a time come forward? And there's some on Zoom as well. So. Okay, so Asha, do you want to start?
I want to take a moment to thank the board and to Kelly Karp for allowing me to speak to you today. I did write some notes because sometimes it keeps me on track. I've been a member of the Hopkinton community for almost 24 years. My family moved here at that time. We have 2 kids. We raised our kids here, went through the school system.
Your name and address, please?
Oh, excuse me. My name's Asha Sharing. I live at Falcon Ridge Drive. And we've been active in the community, involved in many of the activities. I'm also an optometrist practicing at Reliant for over 30 years. It was formerly Southborough Medical. And part of the reason why I'm interested in the Hopkinton Youth Commission is because of my work dealing with families and specifically with children. I have a great opportunity to see them grow and succeed, and so I feel very important, that it's important work dealing with children. I also have a history of working with many volunteer organizations involved with hunger, childhood cancer, homelessness, and volunteering for eye care needs of those who don't have the means. Part of my motivation is to promote good overall health, medically, socially, and mentally. And I think by contributing this way to HYC, I can do this. I also want to say that children who have
You are over your
been
minute, so if you
valued-
want to wrap it up.
Oh, I'm sorry, I just want to say one short thing,
Yeah.
that I think children who are valued by their family, by their friends, and by their community grow up to be well citizens and with great skills. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, Ashley?
So I sent you guys an email, so a lot of it's the same thing, but I'll just say it to you in person since I'm here. So, good evening. I am respectfully asking for your consideration to be appointed to the Youth Commission. I know that this is a very important committee that does a lot of great work in town, and I would be incredibly honored to be able to have a seat. When reviewing the available committees in town that were up for appointment, I thought the Youth Commission would be the best fit for me with my skills and experience. As many of you know, in the spring, I ran for the school committee seat. And while unfortunately I did not win the election, I did have the opportunity, a great opportunity, to build many professional and new relationships in town with community members and school officials. I'm heavily involved in the schools, and I plan to continue my work with the HPTA this fall for the Hopkins and Marathon Elementary Schools. My children are actively involved in town sports and activities, and I have a known presence in town with many parents and coaches. My background is I grew up in Hopkinton. I moved here in 1990, and then my husband and I moved back in 2018. I have a Bachelor's of Science from Applied Legal Studies from Suffolk University, and I graduated magna cum laude. I think my firsthand experience of having children in Hopkinton gives me the real insight into issues, concerns, and priorities many parents and community members have regarding our town, and I think I could use that to best serve their needs, and I hope to take that real-time experience and use it. On a more personal note, I'm a kind, respectful, reasonable, common-sense person who works well with a team. I'm able to take constructive advice and also respectfully offer new ideas. I would understand as a new member, it would be best for me to listen first and learn, and then offer my thoughts. So I would be deeply honored to have the very important privilege to serve on the Youth Commission, and I thank you so much for your consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and then it's either, let's see, Anna Norian or Shana Adijabala? Yeah, come on forward. Anna sent an email, yeah.
Good evening. My name is Shana Ananjawala, and I'm excited to be considered for a seat on the Hopkinton Youth Commission. My husband, who is of Indian descent, and I have lived in Hopkinton for 4 years. We are raising our 2 boys to appreciate the various cultures, to better understand values, beliefs, and perspectives that will hopefully make them better humans. At my day job, I am the lead design quality engineer for a large medical software company. This position draws many parallels to being a commission member, in such that I will work with cross-functional departments. I'm a process girl at heart. I like efficiency and I like process. In my role, I lead many meetings, I take meeting minutes, I distribute, and I follow up on action items. Much like my regular job, I would help the Youth Commission serve its purpose by working with the Board of Selectmen, the town manager, and all the Hopkinton town departments to support the youth and their families by implementing engaging programs and activities. In addition, I founded a wellness committee for my employer. This committee implements numerous programs and activities to support our colleagues and the surrounding community. Though our corporate intended audience is mostly adults, much of what we do can be applied to the youth also. We hold many health awareness campaigns, family gatherings, volunteer opportunities, and fundraising events. If I secure a seat on the commission, I will encourage ideas for the youth around simple service projects, acts of kindness operations, promote leadership opportunities, and a strong focus on the mental and physical health wellness for all age groups. I'm hoping my brief background will give you the confidence that I will work harmoniously with other commission members and volunteers to align the goals of all town stakeholders and ultimately ensure the youth feel supported by the Hopkinton community.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and then we also have Priya is on the Zoom.
Yitao.
And Yitao. Yeah, so Priya, do you want to go first?
Yep, sure. So this is Priya Vasudevan, 22 Aspen Way. I wondered if I'm reappointed to the Youth Commission Committee. I was in the committee for a short term, like 3 months term, which ended June 30th. And during the 3 months, to be honest, the first month, it took me 1 month to figure out how's the committee working and what to do, what's the handbook that's given to us to follow the rules. So that took me 1 month. And the second month onwards, Kelly, under Kelly's guidance, Kelly Copp's guidance, we were able to do the Pride Parade family and mental health programs in partnership with our Hopkinton Youth and Family Services. And also, as Kelly alluded, we are setting up some short-term, 2 to 3 year goals for our youth commission. So I'm very much looking forward to working with Kelly on those goals and objectives for our youth commission. So I'd be honored if I'm reappointed to the committee and continue my contributions and work with our team community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and Yi Tao, do you want to give us an introduction again about the Youth Commission? There we go. Okay. We can't hear you. Just make sure your microphone's on.
Sorry, double muted.
Perfect.
You want me to introduce myself again?
Do we?
You don't have to.
I guess you don't have to unless you have anything to add, since we did hear it earlier.
We want to know why you want to be on the Youth Commission, what your ideas are.
Yeah, so it's because, as I said, this is out of my social responsibility, and I think I've been living in Hopkins for 80 years, and I think it's a great chance for me to give back and communicate, to contribute to the community, and also my son is 11 years old, and I really hope to build a healthy environment in both in life and also online for the youth community, and help to, as I said, help to reduce the iPad time or TV time, and trying to organize more outdoor activities and better education, and also help to increase diversity for this youth commission. That's my main reason.
Thank you. Okay, and so now I think we've heard from everyone now. So there are 3 vacancies and 6 applicants. So I think we should each state our preference for 3 applicants. Anyone want to go first?
Why doesn't Shadu go first?
Yeah, I think
let's
shake it up.
Oh, it's my turn?
Yeah.
I thank all the applicants, of course. I mean, it's great that we have wonderful applicants for 3 positions. We wish we had more.
Great.
And please, look for others if you don't get it tonight. My vote is for Asha, Priya, and Ashley.
Actually, I have to say mine is about this. It's the same. I met Ashley during campaigning, and we developed a nice rapport, even though we were on opposite sides from time to time. And I do admire that. And Pyra and Asha, you were all terrific. And this is the hardest decision I've had to make tonight.
And I think my preferences would be for Priya and Asha and for Yi Tao, because I cannot even remember the last time we had a dad on the Youth Commission, and I think it's really lacking.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that he's willing to step up and offer that perspective.
I'm the same, Asha, Priya, and Yi.
Oh, look what I did to myself, right? Wow. Okay. So I'm going to stick with my first choices. I would really like to thank. I would like to vote for everybody. To be honest, this committee is my heart, and I'm so excited to see people. And I hope that nobody disappears. I hope you stay involved. Kelly is a wonder. Reach out to her and make sure you connect and work. There's so many things that can be done with the Youth Commission. Pick a spot, pick a lane, and help them grow in that direction. So My original choices were Asha, Priya, and Ashley, and I'm sticking with it, even though I would love to vote for everybody.
Okay. So now, so it sounds like that's the majority, so if somebody could make the motion, then?
I can do it.
Aye.
I move to appoint Asha Sharing, Ashley Fogg, and Priya Vasudevan to the Youth Commission to terms expiring 6/30/2025.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstain? And then just for Kelly, it sounds like they're going to be doing some planning for the youth commission. Maybe they could consider adding more seats because there is a lot of interest. Or, yeah.
It's a procedural question. So I am curious, what we need to do as a commission, and maybe this is an offline conversation, I'm not sure, but I do want to understand what I can do to look at maybe expanding the board, how we can clarify where our role is in town. We have a very broad charter, and it's very vague, and I'd like to have some more clarity on what we're looking to do. Obviously I have ideas, the commission has ideas, but I'd really love to have the opportunity to meet with the board and talk about that.
So I think the best thing would be if the committee discussed among themselves and make a recommendation.
That's how I know what the process should look like.
Yeah, in fact, we've gone down this road before. I would respectfully suggest that we have a meeting, town manager, the youth and services director and her team, as well as the youth commission, as well as the assistant town manager.
So I should just contact the
Yes.
town?
Dawn can all coordinate.
Dawn,
Yes, you can coordinate
You got
that.
it, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And ultimately, we want to see you guys fly, so.
Right.
We're super excited. I'm happy to have a solid board and very excited about the position.
And would you speak to the ability for young people to participate too? Because I know we had somebody ask.
So currently the board, we have one youth voting member, and she is, I believe she's a senior in high school. And then we have 2 youth representatives currently. We have a middle school representative and we have a high school representative. They are non-voting members, but they both attend meetings regularly. They've both been very active, very, they've had a lot of contributions to the board. The youth component has been really awesome. The way, however we can expand that, I guess, and make that more accessible, more youth.
Fling that into the conversation.
Yeah.
All right. So we're running.
We'd like to support you. Sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we're running
Thank you.
late, and the
Good
school
work.
committee's waiting, so I guess, I am very interested in this topic, but we can schedule it for a future
Oh, we're
meeting.
not doing it.
That's it?
Thank you, Kelly.
Okay, then I think Connor is here for the Votes Act requirement. So the board will discuss the responsibilities under the new Votes Act as it pertains to assigning police and constable details for elections. If a detail will be used at the early voting location, the board will need to take action at this meeting as early voting would begin in August.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
One of the major changes due to the Votes Act is prior the chief was responsible for assigning police details, typically in consultation with my office. So with the change here, it requires the chief executive of the municipality to make that. There's a few different reasons regarding it. Part of it is to open up with more transparency on how these police details are assigned, especially with some of the more options that we have now with expanding it more towards early voting. Now it's drawn into the law to have it as an option for early voting, but it's the responsibility of the board to decide if that is appropriate. Historically, we have not had a police officer there for early voting or a constable as the law would allow. We have a warden that is there at all times, and we're typically centrally located enough that we can have quick response from police if there was need for an emergency. There is a requirement by law already for one to be assigned, at least one for the polls themselves on election day. But this also gives you the capability to decide if you want just one or if you want multiple, like we've done in the past with sometimes one One all day in the hall, and then we usually had one out in the parking lot for the most busy hours.
So your recommendation is that we don't need one during the early voting since it's essentially downtown, right?
Yeah, I don't think it would be necessary. I've talked with the chief about it. We both agreed that it would be very easy to do, to just go ahead as is. And if for some reason we received any kind of threat, it would be really easy to just get a deployment out there, not necessarily a detail, but make sure that there was someone available. Worst case with an emergency meeting so that the board could decide to shift a detail over there. The early voting timeframes have been squeezed down a little bit, so it's a little bit less time, but it's still a whole lot of hours that is kind of an unnecessary burden when it comes to it being an optional piece.
So I think I'm comfortable with not having a police detail at early voting, or is everyone?
I've worked
I'm on the-
I just want to say it took me 20 minutes to get from here to the police station today.
Oh, okay. They could walk. Did you walk?
No, I was in the car, but no, I agree. I mean, I think once this construction's over, it's a pretty quick
I'm just
trip.
Curious through the chair, what are the other towns doing?
So right now, I think, so a few different towns do varying things depending on their size, their budget. A lot of towns will put a constable there, one of their elected constables for some period. But the constable's rates can be pretty high to stand there and potentially do nothing for the day. And especially with their ability to arrest stripped for the most part, it doesn't really do all that much. They'd still end up just having to call police anyway to actually make an arrest and detain anyone if needed. Only a handful do our approach of using the warden there. Most actually just in the past have just left their election staff for checking people in. And much smaller towns will just do it at the clerk's office.
Thank you.
Okay, and so if we opt not to have a police detail at the early voting, we don't need to take any action tonight?
I
Or we
think
need to
that
vote
you
not
would
to?
just vote to not have a, to not assign any details for the, for early voting hours, in-person early voting hours.
Okay. And town manager has agreed with the recommendation? Or?
Respectfully, may the board consider including as part of your motion the town's ability to seek advice from our public safety teams should a need arise.
Okay. So do we have a sample motion? Or no?
Make a motion to,
Okay. Do you want to make the motion then?
well,
So I guess the motion would be
I just want to make a motion that we find having an officer at early voting non-productive.
Okay, so we make a motion not to assign
Not
a
to
detail
have one.
officer to the early voting, but we will allow, say it again, we will,
Yeah, we-
Leave open the option for consulting public safety in case the situation
okay.
arises.
Arise.
That
Yeah.
sounds good to me. So,
Good.
That's the motion. I'll second that motion.
okay. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed or abstain? Okay. Okay, now we have our big item, and I appreciate the school committee and school staff.
And one other thing that you need to vote on
Oh, yep.
is election day.
And what the election day will be? Oh, whether to have detail officers on election day. Okay.
Well, and how many you assign. So either way, now, one of the things that has changed here is that the select board is now responsible for assigning that detail.
Okay.
And so you need to vote in order to assign that detail for the hours specified for polling, and then decide if there's any additional details that you want to
Okay,
authorize.
and this is for the September primary election?
Yes, this is for the September
Okay.
primary.
And did you recommend a certain number of detail officers, or just,
So, I mean, I kind of look at it as no reason to fix what isn't broken at this point. Having a single officer in the hall has been quite effective, and then, assigning an officer for the parking lot on either end of the busier hours, especially school will likely be in, so having it during, the morning rush and then evening when everyone's clearing out, I think would be productive.
okay, so that is at a total of 3, that one at the entrance, one, or just 2?
So, I mean, it might be split across multiple shifts and multiple actual individuals, but it would be essentially, I think the chief might have to just answer that. Is it 2, or is that times 3?
so that entire period of time. And then we would bring in officers during peak times in the morning and afternoon. Or if you wanted, we could post an officer there through the entire time that the polling station was open.
Okay.
And then you would just instruct me, and we would facilitate it. And then
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we have one officer in the polling place all day long, and then another officer outside in the parking lot during the peak hours of voting.
May I?
And authorize the
through
contacting of,
I had a question
Yep.
to the chair.
Oh, you have a question?
Yeah.
go ahead.
Chief Bennett, how is it different from the current process?
It's not.
we're replicating the current process.
It's just now we have to do it, or we have to authorize it, I guess.
The motion made. Anybody want a second?
Got it, thank you.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, and do we have to add on to that with consultation of the,
Again, in fact, respectfully suggesting that perhaps the motion should be that the select board,
Appoint.
the select board designate,
Two officers.
no, not the number.
No, but I'm
Police
trying to
officers,
get it,
yes, designate police officers on election day, subject to the police chief and the town clerk agreeing on the deployment on the number. Because clearly, determining the number at this point may be premature.
okay.
Worth a wait.
And if the situation, through the chair, the situation changed, typically it would have been a phone call to Connor and I and a decision. But if we don't have enough structure, we wouldn't be able to move quickly. I mean, I could always assign officers anywhere I want in town, I have that authority. And if there was a threat, I could always address it.
Sure.
To fully respect your authority.
Thank you for that. I feel like it's misplaced perhaps, but I
The chair,
appreciate it.
part of this is also just around ensuring transparency in the process and
Yep.
making sure of that. You know, it really just shows that there's this collaboration going on and let people see behind the veil of
Okay.
all of that goes into elections.
I think we're all still a little confused what motion then we're making, so the
So, Madam
motion
Chair,
is.
I move as Mr. Kamalu stated.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed or abstain? Okay, now the bigger item here. Okay, let's see. Okay, so the special town meeting Marathon School Edition, the board will discuss the need for additional funding for the Marathon Elementary School Edition and consider calling a special town meeting in August for that purpose. And this was all in our packet. It was also at the school committee meeting, so I think the hour is late, so we'll try to be brief. I think everyone has read the information, right? Okay, so Norman, do you want to introduce or have the
Yes,
schools
if
department?
I may, through the chair, we have the superintendent and the representatives, the chair of the school committee and members of the school committee. The idea is for them to briefly and in summary form explain why the special town meeting now. Yeah. Yeah.
Do we need more chairs? Yep. It's a self-service situation here, Carol, sorry about that.
Well, thank you for having us tonight. You know, this is Robin Mick, our Director of Finance and Operations, and this is Phil Colombo, who is our Owners Project Manager from Colliers. And as you know, we are here tonight looking for a special town meeting relative to the Marathon Edition project. So I will let maybe Phil, if you're ready to hear from him, why we are in need of that town meeting.
Sure.
Thank you to the board. So on June 22nd, we had a general contractor bidding for the project. And to kind of back up, during design, we had 3 phases of estimates done, which is pretty typical for a project of this size. One estimate process at each of the 3 phases of design. At the first phase of design, in that estimate process, we found we were over budget. And at that point, we requested through the school committee additional funding in the amount of $695,000. What that was doing is that was covering a deficit that we had in the construction budget, a deficit that we had in the furniture budget within the total project budget, and then a deficit we wanted to cover in the contingency of the total project budget. So from that point, we moved on to the second phase of design. We had the estimate process in that phase. And as these bid numbers are on these other projects are escalating, showed in our second phase of estimates that we were over budget by another, I want to say approximately $140,000. So we said, okay, we just requested $695,000 in additional funds for this project. Let's see if we can utilize the existing budget that just got increased by $695,000, move money from the furniture budget into the construction line item to cover that deficit. So we felt that was a good plan at that point. Let's move on to the third phase of design. So we did that, and at the third phase of design, we came in over budget again. I want to say it was approximately $350K or so. So at that point, we said there's existing money in the budget to essentially deplete the furniture budget and move it into construction, and then remove some of the contingency monies and put it into the construction line item. But at that point, we felt the remaining contingency amount was such that we felt comfortable we could get going with construction. And while we were in construction, we could do an additional funding request to replenish the furniture budget that went down to zero, and to replenish the contingency budget that went below what it should be to start the project. So from that point, we started the bidding process. So we had filed sub-bidding on June 10th. Filed sub-bid came in great. I want to say total estimate, I want to say we came in under our total filed sub-bid estimate. We then had our general contractor bidding on June 22nd. We had 6 general contractors bid on the project. Currently, there's a lot of bidding going on. So when you have a project, get 6 general contractors bid on it, that's a good thing. Their numbers were plus or minus on top of each other. They were all reading the same things in the bid docs. It showed that there wasn't any ambiguity in the bid docs. They were all seeing the same thing in competitive numbers. But unfortunately, that bid overage was such that it wasn't an overage. We could move existing monies around in that budget that was already kind of deflated from that other estimate process during design. So we were. So after the low GC bid came in, we were then over budget by approximately $400,000 in terms of the construction number. And at that point, we didn't have any money in the furniture technology, and we had a deflated contingency budget. So we did a budget analysis based off of that last estimate process to what the GC bids came in at, and we said, okay, we need this amount for the construction budget to cover that deficit of the low GC bidder. The furniture budget should be approximately $240K. That'd be the appropriate amount for this 4-classroom addition. And the contingency amount should be right around approximately $340K. So we're seeking approval so that adding up those added funds for construction, FF&E technology, and contingency, that adds up to an additional funding request of $850,000. And truthfully, without that additional funding going through, we simply don't have the money to execute to start the project. And so what we did was we put together a couple bid overage strategies. Ultimately, it's bid overage strategy 1, utilize the existing bids, and go through with a special town meeting and get that additional funding. What that looks like is through the bid docs, the bidders are essentially told in the bid docs and in Mass General Law to honor their bids for 30 business days post the GC bidding. That brings them to August 4th. So we've reached out to all the bidders and they've indicated they would honor through August. Statutorily, they don't have that obligation. They have the right to withdraw their bid if they happen to land another project and they feel like they can't staff a marathon project. So it's in Hopkinton's best interest to, if the choice is to utilize these existing bids, to go through that additional funding process in an efficient manner. And then the other strategy, and we would recommend it, but you have the right to reject the bids. You came in over your budget, so that either as an awarding authority that happens to, you have the right to reject all the bids. And potentially if you would want to say push the bidding process for this project to spring town meeting of next year, And we did a breakdown of what that would look like added cost-wise in communicating with the estimators. They said, the way we're seeing these numbers come in, assume another 10% on top of where the average GC bid was. So that's approximately $500K. You got an OPM and design team that, you know, would have to do the pre-qual process and bidding process again, another $60K, advertising, bid hosting fee, and cost estimators if we wanted to go through that process again. So all those line items add up to approximately $600K on top of the $850K we're seeking right now. So you're looking at 1.4, 1.5 million. That's an estimate. But we feel like, you know, at this point in time, it's based off of what we know, where numbers are coming in, it's the right estimate to use. So it's that kind of decision between $850K now or reject, and it's gonna get more expensive. What the estimators are seeing, prices are not going down. They're gonna see them going down in the next year.
Okay, so just to clarify a few things for the public, I believe you've identified the funding source could be the Legacy Farms Stability Fund that we have. Is that correct?
That's a possibility,
Yeah.
most likely. However, at this point, the decision is on whether to schedule a special town meeting or not.
Okay.
There will be discussions regarding funding source as we prepare, if the decision is to move forward with the special.
Okay, and for the financial piece of whether to do it now or wait till the spring town meeting, I did ask, just because I know the public always asks, how much does it cost to hold a special town meeting? And it's about $6,000, so that's a lot cheaper than $600,000 if we were to wait. Plus, it'd be longer before the kids.
10 for those who are paying attention.
Right. And plus, the longer before the kids can get in the space too, because it's not immediate, even after we approve the funds. Okay, are there any more questions? And
I have a couple of questions. One,
yeah,
through the chair. One is regarding the lock-in. Do you feel that between now and the kickoff, there is no other room for any inflationary or any other effect to these numbers? This ask.
Yeah, so I wouldn't feel comfortable saying that, nor would a cost estimator feel comfortable saying that. And it's just, what's happening is, besides material costs going up at a pace that people can't keep up with, these bidders aren't getting locked in pricing. So all these bidders are putting padding on their bids. And a cost estimator can't guesstimate what that padding's gonna be for this HVAC contract. What is it gonna be for this electrical contract? What is it? They can't nail it. And so all these projects in the Commonwealth right now are dealing with this issue, where whether they're in design, they're coming in over budget, so they got a value engineer, or they're at bid and they came in over budget and they're in this predicament we're in now. It's unfortunately been a very common theme.
Totally understandable, which leads to my second question, which is, do you feel the contingency is healthy enough to cover the variance if there is?
What's that?
The contingency number, I think it's 340K.
Yes, so I feel comfortable that that's the right contingency for the overage we're requesting to execute a contract with the current low bidder. Yes,
Okay.
I do. Yeah.
Thank you.
okay.
I have a question logistically about timing for the town meeting. What is the announcement time? Like when is the soonest we can have it?
So it's on
We
the.
provided,
It's on,
Yeah.
Where is that?
yeah.
In the script.
So I can read it out for the public to know too, but
For
Yeah.
sure.
if we were to vote tonight to call a town meeting and set a date, we could publish the notice tomorrow and send it to the boards and committees. Articles would be due to the select board by the close of the 10th business day, which would be the 27th of July. They prepare the warrant. We'd sign the warrant on August 2nd, which would have to be a special meeting. So I guess we'd have to make sure 3 of us are available. And then August 3rd, we'd post the warrant in town hall and all the places it's required around town. And then the special town meeting date could be Thursday, August 18th.
Just for the future, this would be great to have in the packet for the public.
We just got it tonight, right? This is the thing. Yeah. Okay.
And
So
for
I think-
Muriel, who doesn't pay attention to the script.
What's it?
I said, and for Muriel, who's not even a bit interested in the script.
So
Clearly.
I have a question for us as the board. I mean, do we have enough people who are going to be around on August 2nd?
I think so.
Second.
check.
I
We
may
could-
not be here.
And did the legislature pass that we can meet remotely if necessary? Or do we have to have a quorum in the room? It's still pending, okay. So we would need to have at least 3 in the room, for sure.
It's for the August 2nd, you know?
August 2nd.
I'll be here, yeah.
Yeah, I would be here.
I will not be here. Well, it depends on what time we do the meeting.
Okay.
You have 3, though?
We have 3, yeah.
That's 3, so.
And if 3 are in the room, others could join on Zoom, I believe.
I have a short question.
Yep.
The articles are due by the 27th, and is that the close of the warrant on the 27th? Okay, close of the warrant on the 27th.
The warrant closes, yes.
Okay, but then we don't sign it until the 2nd.
Yeah, we don't sign it for a couple of days.
But once it's open, it's open.
Okay, and do we have
And,
to,
I thought I had a meeting on the 2nd anyway. I'm here, but I thought we had a meeting anyway on the 2nd.
yeah, I have it on my calendar. Maybe it was tentative, I don't know. Okay,
The second, yeah.
August 2nd, yeah.
oh, it was moved to the 11th? Okay, I better put 11th on my calendar then.
Does this mean
What
we
was
have,
moved to the 11th?
so can we do all our business on the 2nd?
We'll try.
Well, let's, I mean, I think we should make that choice, right?
Yeah.
Move the meeting to the 2nd, so that we don't have to compare, not that we don't love this, but it is August, and we could skip one like we planned. Just throwing that out there.
So as long as the meeting's at night, I
Yeah,
can do
actually,
it.
on the agenda, it says our upcoming meeting is August 2nd, not another one until September 6th. Okay, so we're all set.
So we'll stick with
We're
just
all
one.
set, yes,
On the
August
2nd.
2nd.
Okay.
That's the rule, that's the rule.
Okay. So that's fine. Do we have to set the place of the meeting as well, or the location?
No.
Not right now, but when we post the warrant, we will know the location.
Correct.
Okay, so we'll get a recommendation from the Board of Health about whether to do the middle school or high school, I guess. Not tonight,
Yes.
but before, by August 2nd. Okay,
We will consult with the public safety director.
okay.
And just a reminder to the public, the quorum that we'll need is,
I think it's 128.
28.
so, you know,
So-
it is really challenging to get people in for things like this off time.
In August.
So it's going to be a full court press to bring all your friends and your adult children.
I do think, though, that people are more willing to attend when they expect it will be a shorter meeting, so I'm hopeful that maybe
possibly.
people will just come, vote and go. Okay, so I am comfortable with making the motion to call a special town meeting for Thursday, August 18th,
So move.
and open the warrant, and close the warrant on July 27th.
So move.
Okay, I'll-
Second that?
second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and I would like more location information as we get closer to the next meeting. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for waiting. What's that?
Yeah. Warrant's open,
The
yeah.
warrant is now open. And we'll close on the 27th.
Thank you.
We thought we'd had enough town meeting fun for one.
Which is fine, that's her right.
It is what it is.
You guys got work to do, get that quorum out there.
Congratulations, okay.
Listen, we should do something to make it fun. Like, I don't know. Like minor league. Like minor league baseball or something. Have some family fun going on.
Okay, so the next item is the town manager's report,
No.
right?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, first on the agenda is the Main Street Corridor Project update. I actually invited John Westerling, Joe Bennett, Bill Miller, and Dave Del Torre to join us in case there are any questions on this project.
Joy that people are feeling, right?
Am I gonna wash some dust out of my mouth?
I know.
So, yeah, Dave, John, Joe, and Bill, please. Yeah. Yeah. Again, included in the packet was an update
Yep.
from Dave. I think the big question is, what is the schedule for the current work and the next phase, which will move the full depth reclamation over across the intersection towards the common?
Yes.
Correct. The roadway, there's still some underground utility work. First, thank you for having me here. Nice to see everybody. It'll be the first board meeting I've come to, and this has been a fun one. So, the construction work, everybody knows it's ongoing and it's going full speed ahead. The work with the extended hours has helped with them keep up with the schedule, keep on schedule. I know it's painful for everybody. I know it's painful for people who live in town, people who don't live in town. But the work is progressing quickly. Pavement should start this week from the Wood Street intersection towards the fire station. There's some work still remaining from the undergrounding work to bring underground services from the center of the road to the different buildings between 85 and 135 and Ash Street. That work is commencing. The big push is to complete the undergrounding connections between the east and the west side of 85 and 135. We've been talking about that for months, how possibly we can do that work, minimizing the impact of traffic. That was kind of the big topic for tonight on the agenda. The update was night work. Potentially, the town has done night work in that intersection before. Most recently, I think it was a DPW project, a water main project on Cedar Street, I think. So we don't have all the details. We opened it up to the contractor just last week. They'd be interested in doing some of that. We haven't worked out all the details and worked out the traffic management plan. But we have had a conversation with public safety, town manager's office, DPW. That's why we're all kind of here to show our support for that. It will be the best construction schedule, traffic management mitigation measure to kind of minimize, the impacts to traffic. There'll be other impacts. Night work is, it's at least in a business area, there will be residential, properties within the noise zone, those sort of stuff. But we're hoping, once we can move forward, we're looking for the board's support and furthering those conversations with the contractors to come up with the more details so that we can kind of set some rules, set some guidelines.
So just to be clear, you're only asking for night work permission on the South Street, West Main Street area? Is that right?
Yeah, that's a different request. However, through the chair, it may be very helpful at this point, Dave, to talk about the additional dust control and mitigation measures that we agreed to this afternoon or this morning.
Sure. We had a project meeting yesterday to discuss, and again, I'll also go through some of the traffic mitigation measures that we've utilized and implemented and continue to think about to try to minimize the impact of traffic. Some areas throughout this quarter are golden pinch points. There's no areas to detour around. It's a narrow area. The construction activity that happens in that narrow area, we can't maintain 2 lanes of traffic while that work is going on. So you have to do the 1 lane of alternating traffic, and everybody has found out, this last couple of weeks, at 8 o'clock and at 3 o'clock, that does horrible things to traffic throughout this area. So that's kind of the goal, to minimize those. You can't detour around those areas. So one of those areas is like the Wood Street intersection, where we tried some Saturday work a couple weeks ago. Contractor was willing to do that to kind of minimize the traffic impacts it would have had that Monday, Tuesday. It worked out well. The contractor, sometimes are hesitant to work Saturdays, it's overtime, but again, that's another thing we're looking to do with the contractor. If they're amiable to it, MassDOT's okay with it. I think everybody here was okay with how it worked out. I think it was the 9th, July 9th. So, other traffic measures, we've really kind of doing trucks. We're not allowing trucks to turn around on Main Street anymore. They're actually coming down to the dump trucks, the 10-wheelers, we're carrying all the dirt. So, increased traffic signaling. We've allowed detours in a larger area, using Elm Street to detour Wood Street, which usually isn't something we like doing or we've done, but public safety's kind of been very open to different ideas.
Okay, so what are you asking for? Are you asking for night work for the downtown project?
This is, yes, overall, it's an update again. I haven't got to the dust control stuff yet, but yeah, overall, that's kind of what, nobody's formally asked, but we want to go through this process with the board and get your support so that we can go and continue those discussions and get them, if everybody's on board, we can schedule them quickly because it happens quickly.
I know, I'm not feeling too comfortable with night work in the downtown area, but Saturday seemed like a better option. It doesn't keep everybody awake. And I guess I don't know how loud it would be. That's because the noise is the issue.
I would defer to DPW if they received any complaints during those times.
Yeah. In fact, through the chair, I think what Dave is suggesting is that based on the alternatives that we're discussing with the contractor, we wanted to gauge the board's thinking around some of these issues. Can there be night work? If the board's consensus is investigate this further, understand what the impacts are and what the details will be, come back to us. That's what Dave, I believe, is looking for. He's not looking for a specific decision right now, but rather, should we include, as part of our discussions with the contractor, the option of looking into night work?
So for me, I don't think I'm comfortable with the idea of night work unless it was very quiet in the downtown area, but I think Saturdays or even later in the evening, but not at night, seem like a decent option.
Are they asking for the downtown area?
Well, he's asking if they should explore it as an option. Is that right?
Yeah, we'll continue to explore that and to add on to.
But I don't know how everyone else feels. If I might be.
So through the chair, I'm actually open to it. I think that the downtown residents deserve at least the weekends. So if we're looking at an either or of night work versus weekends, I'm open to it, but frankly, I think they should be able to sleep as well. And if we get, I'm open to exploring it and finding out how we can keep it as quiet as possible to give the downtown residents a chance to sleep and enjoy a weekend.
Through the chair.
That's
I
right.
did working with the people on Cedar Street and A Street when they put in the water main, and it was really awful. Very loud, all night long, and a lot of complaints, and many of them did not sleep for 3 or 4 days. So we would have, if we were going to do this, we would have to find a way to do it much more quietly.
Through the chair, I kind of concur on the night work issue. I think it's kind of, both are difficult, and I understand your work is difficult. You have to get things done and not enough time. How do we find the time that's a little more convenient for others? And there isn't any, apparently. So, but I think the nighttime work is, a little more challenging because people can't sleep. If they're little kids, they don't go to bed, and then it, really big disruption for the families. Versus the weekend, you give away some convenience, but it's probably not as disruptive. That's just my personal take of the both. Both are hard, as I was saying, but that's
Or
probably
like
a little
paving,
more
if it's just paving.
How about Mr. Westerling?
It's not that
Okay.
noisy.
Mr. Wrestling has some comments.
What, Muriel?
John's been trying to say something.
Oh.
Through the chair, good evening. I think a better comparison is when we replaced the water main on Main Street. Cedar Street, we went down Cedar Street, we were right in front of the homes, we were right by A Street. But when we replaced the water main on Main Street, that went from Pleasant Street to Ash, we went through the intersection in the evening, at night, it was night work, and I don't think we received any complaints then. So that was maybe 6 years ago, maybe 7 years ago. And we had much more success there because we were out of the lower Cedar Street, Main Street.
The residential area.
Yeah. And we can look at other things with the contractor. I think at that point, instead of the backup beepers that drive everybody crazy, I think we had backup lights or something like that. So there are other options that we can explore if the board is open to us having those conversations with the contractor.
If I may, through the chair, the Cedar Street project had a lot of contractor-related issues that I don't think that we would face. Yelling over the equipment and just jackhammering and things.
Yes, it was the jackhammering
stuff that we worked to get that to stop. And I'm not sure, I missed some of it. We're not talking about switching to night work. We're talking about these key critical choke points, like the intersection, and using night work for those. But the vast majority of the project would still remain within the normal working hours.
So on the west end of Main Street, go ahead. Yep, go for it.
Through the chair. I'm entirely open to moving this project more quickly and more efficiently, particularly in the choke points. And I'm also making a call to all residents, but especially those most affected, to be as patient as they can during this time. We knew that this wasn't going to be convenient. It's a huge undertaking. And for me, if there's a way to maximize efficiency and lower the impact, even though I know overnight is difficult for a certain few, I'd be open to what makes the best sense.
So I guess I would be open to night work if there are homes on the west end of Main Street. Like, I really wouldn't want night work that was loud in front of people's houses, but in front of the businesses, I think that could be an option if it wasn't very loud. And then when you get to the common, it's very, it's residential too, but there is a large area that is not residential, so I guess I'd be more open to it if you have to do it at night in the non-residential areas.
I just want to throw in there too, through you, Madam Chair, that the lights are hard too.
Yeah, I do understand about the intersection,
Well, no, I mean the lights at night.
Oh,
There's impacts for sure. But just coming, and I know I've only done it once, so I have no cause for complaint. But just coming here tonight, I'm like, I am so glad I left very early. I'd have never gotten here, right? And so it's a real challenge.
No problem.
Well, there you go, 501. I think if there's a way to somehow, with your expertise, minimize the impact as much as possible and make it as efficient and quick and tight as possible, I think we have to be flexible to that.
And I would add through the chair, if I wasn't clear enough, I apologize. We are really only talking right now about the intersection work in the 85-130.
Oh, okay.
Just that area, maybe the area between Hopkinton Drug and the gas.
So near the gas stations, okay.
Yeah, and then it starts to widen out. It wasn't, like work all the time everywhere.
Okay.
I'm very cognizant of not having many discussions about night work in the residential areas.
Okay.
Through the chair, and I appreciate that. I think we are all, have the good intention of not making it painful for the residents. But I just wanted to understand the impact. So if we do not go for night work for those intersections and opt for, say, weekend work, how many days will it impact? Do we have an assessment of that?
Most of the work, the initial work is going to be conduit work. We haven't gotten specific work details from the contractor, but we're not talking more than a day or two at a time. We're not talking like all week. It would be held a couple days. The roadway reconstruction work, same kind of effort is, might be a day or two. It might be, a day for paving in that area, so it might be a little longer once they start doing the roadway reconstruction portion.
But you're not asking for a vote on this one then tonight, you're just getting our general feedback, is that right?
As project manager, I'd love to have a vote today.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
The
So are you
project's
asking?
moving quickly. The paving when it starts this week, which is Thursday, I think all will be surprised how quickly that moves. By Friday, we might have they might have most of Wood Street, from Wood Street to the fire station, paved with the base course and the binder course. So it could be, a couple weeks down the road where we're actually, the contractor comes to the town in MassDOT and says we're ready to do this work.
Okay, so we could make a motion that incorporates all our thoughts on that. And I know you want to give us an update on the dust too, but do you want to wait on that? Because that's a different topic, right? So are people comfortable making a motion?
I
Just,
can.
sorry, I'm not clear on the last one, which is that if we do it, we'll gain 2-3 days of work. If we don't do it, it'll be delayed or prolonged by 2-3 days of work. Is that the right assessment? I'm trying to understand what is the cost benefit.
The discussion about night work is, it won't expedite the work. The night work will take 2 or 3 days.
It would reduce
What we'll do
congestion.
We'll have absolute minimal impacts to traffic if that work was to be done during the day. I mentioned before, we've been discussing this for months with the contractor in MassDOT. We can't come up with a reasonable solution for detouring traffic around certain, going from Cedar Street to Grove Street and vice versa. It's, the detours from that direction
Many miles out of the way.
It's a real challenge.
It's long.
And the Fruit Street Bridge I think is out as well with the MassDOT project.
Oh, it's definitely out, yeah.
So, we've really been struggling with trying to figure out something reasonable.
So it's traffic
Okay.
pain versus night work, right? And then the second is, if you were to do it on the weekend, would that be a less impact solution?
It would also, there tends to be more traffic on the weekend than on the weekend. In contractor operations, for some reason, they prefer night work over Saturday work. I'm not sure what it is.
They might have families too, who knows?
Yeah, summertime, they don't want their vacation too.
Working in the night is also not the right time for families.
So you're expecting the potential night work to be in a couple weeks, right?
Not all at once.
But starting
Once you add everything up, it might be a week or two.
Okay, so.
But not in a row.
I mean, I think we should be voting on it because we're not gonna have another meeting until August, so.
So does someone want to craft a motion
So
taking into
I'll
account?
take a shot at that. I move
feedback?
to approve the project manager to enter into exploratory talks regarding night work and allowing any agreement to move forward regarding night work in non-residential areas of the downtown corridor.
Yeah, I was just not sure if that was the ask, residential versus non-residential, but I like how you worded it.
I'll second it.
I thought it was for any and all.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question. I was writing something.
Yeah, it wasn't a question through the chair. Would it be helpful also to allow him to explore Saturday weekend work?
Yes, I think we would all.
I'll accept that friendly amendment.
Yeah.
I'll still second it.
Okay.
There are residences, yeah. I was wondering what the,
But there are houses, through the chair, there are houses, apartments, and not in the direct intersection, that's clear, but
There are apartments above some of the office buildings.
as you go,
Ah,
and then
Yeah.
definitely down by the lights, there's residential.
Mhm.
There as well.
can I make a friendly amendment maybe? Minimizing as much as possible any night work that encroaches on residences. Minimizing as much as possible night work that impacts residences.
I accept that
Which
friendly
includes
amendment, too.
apartments, right, yeah.
And I think,
Well, I include all dwellings.
Yep.
Yeah, we don't want to continue too much, but clarifying question. So this is an exploratory, we're not approving anything yet?
No, we are approving it.
We are.
We are,
If they-
because
if
we're not
they-
gonna have
if they-
time.
If they make it work, they're gonna be able to do it.
Because they won't
But,
come
yeah,
back for 3 weeks,
The
right?
way I heard the motion doesn't say I approve, it says I approve the exploratory.
Exploration and follow through, I believe I said.
And Mr. Dave, you had.
Chair, one suggestion, maybe add, kind of put the chief on the spot. Approval, public safety, are the experts on the details of traffic management, like the detail officers. Maybe upon approval of public safety, like we do on a daily basis for everything
Yeah.
else. Like they approve all the traffic management plans for us, for the project. We review everything with public safety.
We wouldn't want to change your process.
Okay.
I don't,
So the idea behind my motion at least was night work in commercial areas, minimizing impacts to residential areas. That's what we're
Right.
approving? Yes.
Okay.
I'm not,
second.
yeah.
I do want to make
All
a
clear?
comment, though.
Okay,
Residents have to be notified.
Yes, we know, we do have individual butter addresses along the corner. We will use that contact.
Okay.
It's not the overall. However, we sign up for these things. We
Okay.
do have a butter contact information for both the property owners, and for most of this area, it will be the people who actually lease or rent.
Okay, so I think, so all in favor?
No.
What's it?
No, I said no.
No, okay.
Oh, by the way, I have a question. How do we get a new muffler?
So you can file a claim, right, so other people did?
Buy an electric car. No muffler needed.
Okay, do you want to tell us, it's getting late, so do we hear about the dust mitigation? Real quickly?
I hear the dust mitigation.
Yeah.
The contract requires water and calcium chloride to be put down. The contractor requires the engineer to determine the quantities of those. The engineer on the contract is MassDOT resident engineer. Over the past 2 weeks, the town has made 3 different requests for the MassDOT to direct the contractor to increase those operations. Yesterday morning, MassDOT, for the 3rd time, directed their contractor to do additional water treatment and additional calcium chloride, maybe beginning and end of the day, as well as add operations on the weekend for doing water and or dust control with calcium chloride.
Okay,
In
so,
addition, I've asked MassDOT to report back to the town on a daily basis. I have not heard from them yet on how many times they've sent the water truck up and down Main Street and how many times they've applied calcium chloride and what the rate will be. The contract does require a specific rate, pounds per, I think it's square yard, for the calcium chloride to go down. Again, this is kind of one of those.
because it is really
Continues
frustrating.
To tell Mass DOT and their contractor they need to up these operations.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's really frustrating, though, and, because I know I drove on it on Sunday, and you could see the dust in the air, you could see it all over the cars, like, it really needs to be more on the weekend, for sure. Even if they're doing it on a weekday, but not on the weekend.
To date, they have not, through the chair, not done it on a weekend.
So is there recourse for residents? I'm trying to think,
No.
To follow Mary Jo's, there's a claim process.
Yeah.
People can reach out to myself, Michelle Murdoch. We've had several claims for property damage, dust. Again, this week we've talked about, we're trying to think out of the box on dust control and the costs for cleaning. If residents have dust in their house as a result of this property and it's property damage, and
Okay.
there can be a claim made through the contractor, we have that information. The town assists residents with their claims to keep it going. We reach out to them as soon as the claim is made. We identify the agent assigned through Travelers Insurance as the insurance, and we keep the residents up to date. The initial information submitted, we work with the resident to make sure, the contractor and their insurance company can't do anything by waiting for you. You didn't send me the year of the car, you didn't send me the type of car, you didn't send me a picture, so.
Okay, so residents should feel free to do the claims process if they have damages, it sounds
Yes,
like.
they can reach out.
Okay.
Michelle, as the project specialist, is the best place to start off with.
Okay. And did you say you're not hearing back from the state when you're asking the state to tell them to use more dust control measures?
No, the state's responded every time.
Okay, so is the contractor who's not responding?
That's why I've asked for the report.
Okay.
Because nobody's out there 7 days a week watching the contractor and tracking the water truck. And the contractor claims they've been using water and dust control.
We have traffic cameras, wouldn't we know?
Yeah, it's and unfortunately somebody sit there for 8 hours, but we are trying to, again, coordinate with everybody who's on site, MassDOT, we'll start reaching out to public safety a little more, to ask the details to do a little more.
Okay.
Which we haven't asked them to do to date, is if they've noticed a water truck, if they could just let us know.
Okay.
So, I'm, through the chair, just to be clear, what are the mitigations we are thinking, like water truck and?
They
I
are
heard
already
claims.
supposed to be doing that. Yeah.
They're supposed to have a water truck. Is it a 5,000 gallon? It looks like an oil truck, but on the back it has nozzles, and it's supposed to spray a full lane width. It's supposed to go up and back along the entire corridor. Let's go beyond. Because
No, thank you. I'm trying to summarize. We're asking for dust control and dust management, and the remedy is we're going to have water truck spraying water, managing the dust. And if there are objections or if there are suffering or damage, there will be a process for claim through the state.
yes.
Through the state. Is that?
Yeah, there's a process it's through the contractor's insurance company, and folks, residents can reach out to Hopkinton's project specialist or myself, and we can lead them through that process.
Okay. Yeah, I think in these situations, communication is very important, and I know you all are working very, very hard. It's a difficult project, and we all need to get it done with all hands on deck. But I've heard so many complaints, so have you, I'm sure, that we always feel there isn't enough communication in some ways. So let's think, how we can make this a little more easier on everyone.
And I do, through the chair, I always, when I speak in public, urge folks to sign up for the notices. There's a project website, you can go to the town website to get to the project website, and you sign up for notifications. There's specific, it's not your general notification for anything that comes out through the website. You can sign up specifically for the Main Street project updates. We're switching to weekly updates through the summer. They've been coming out bi-weekly for the project. We've sent out quite a few press releases over the last couple of weeks.
Yep.
We do get them out on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
Things do change. We try to keep up with them and send out press releases. We try to use every form available to us, local media.
Yeah, I think you can't over-communicate on this, so I appreciate when you get out a bunch out in a row if you need to. It's fine.
We urge people, just everybody, I believe 650 something folks are already signed up.
I know, but there's
One of
more
our
than
best-
12,000 voters.
One of our best email notification lists, but,
Yeah.
It's only about 10%
On the
probably.
website, we have all this information on the first page.
Yeah, we do.
Or project website, which is the Hopkinton Main Street.
It's a different project website or
We have
on the main?
Yeah, we have a specific one, website just for the project, but you can also get to that project website through.
From the town website.
Yeah.
Okay, so-
I would suggest put it on first page on the town website, because naturally people would go there first. But
I'm pretty sure it's on the
It's
front page.
it's pretty easy to get to. I mean, it's right there on the main page. You just click on the Main Street corridor.
Yep.
It's right
I
there.
heard differently, but I'll test it out.
Oh, we should look at
Last time I looked, it was pretty simple.
Because I found out about Michelle in my input.
Through the chair, earlier on there was a question regarding whether the fact that there's construction activity on Hayden Row as well as Main Street presents a public safety challenge. We have our public safety chiefs here to answer that question.
About Hayden Row and moving that to nighttime?
No, that we have construction activities on both Hayden Row and Main Street.
Oh, yeah, on the way toward Milford, yeah.
So the Hayden Row project and Main Street project have been designated priorities, which implements staffing protocols and limits the filling of other details. It sets a priority to those. Those, we saw Hayden Row work in the past. It worked pretty well, but it is a priority detail for us because of its high volume, especially given the fact that Main Street's under construction.
Yeah. And police and fire ambulances can get to those neighborhoods?
It's right
Through
there.
the chair, we have, every detail officer has a radio, and part of the dispatch
Yeah, but
protocol
that's a
is as
project
soon as
website.
they think that an
Where do you
ambulance is gonna have to
subscribe
come
for?
through, they
There
notify
should be a button
the
that subscribe here
team,
for.
and then
Oh,
they
you can
clear the
subscribe.
queue.
That's how you do it. It's 5 clicks to get
We
there.
haven't had any issues.
I work on UX, trust me.
What's that?
It's just one click.
Yeah, so it is, the Main Street Quarter website is linked to the home page of the website, but the click to subscribe is a little bit buried. So maybe the click to subscribe could also be on the homepage?
I'll work with John. She's updating that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so, hold on, so we've gone off track a little bit here. So, you need a vote, so you finished your Main Street update. You need a vote from us to allow night work at South Street, is that correct?
Yeah, that request is through John.
Through John, okay, because it's in our packet here. Not related to Main Street. So are we done with Main Street for now?
For now, yes, I believe so.
Okay. Okay, so what's next on Town Manager's report?
Well, thank you for all the good work. It's hard, but we'll get there.
With the chair's permission, we can jump on to the request for night work on South Street.
Thank you. Through the chair, as part of our pavement management program that we're doing this year, we are doing resurfacing of West Main Street from approximately the end of the landscaped island that goes under 495. From there, just beyond the Price Chopper driveway entrance, so that section of West Main Street. And then we're also going from that intersection up the hill past the Price Chopper entrance on South Street. So that entire intersection will be resurfaced. The other section that we're doing is the far end of South Street. So from the Milford line up to the EMC light. So because of the heavy traffic volumes there, we're asking that work be able to be done at night. It's essentially industrial commercial area, so we don't believe there will be a major impact there, but we will have variable message boards up and we will notify the abutters of the forthcoming item.
Okay, so I'm much more comfortable with that option, as long.
Okay, through you, Madam Chair. How long will this be?
So there are two phases through the chair. There are two phases. The first is the cold in place work, and that will take approximately 3 nights. And then they'll come back and they'll do the final coat of paving 2 weeks or 3 weeks later, and that'll take maybe 2 or 3 weeks.
And the dates are July 25th to the 29th for the cold in place and August 8th through August 12th for the paving.
Oh, okay, okay, perfect. So through you, I am comfortable with that, but there is a big impact to the lake residents with the lights and the noise. So I know that we talk about it, but all the lights up there really impede, so I'm glad to hear that it's, a pretty tight time schedule, honestly.
And through the chair, the work that we do with cold in place recycling, if you remember the work that we did last year, for example, going up the West Main Street Hill, the impact is minimal because we're able to open up the roads to traffic almost immediately. Residents, or in this case, business owners can get in and out, should they be getting in and out at night.
Okay.
Awesome.
I'll make the motion.
Okay. So Mario, make the motion, if there's no more questions.
No, this is more industrial area, for that matter. Yep.
I move to authorize night work on West Main Street from South Street to Price Chopper, to the Price Chopper entrance, and on South Street from the intersection of West Main Street to the top of the hill and the end near the Milford Town line, approximately July 25th through July 29th and August 8th through August 12th, on the condition that the variable message boards be installed and the abutters be notified in advance.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstain?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Joy, not so
Wait,
quick.
Is there a PFAS update?
Yeah, quick PFAS and MWRA connection updates. In terms of PFAS, we have the May and June readings slightly below the 20 parts per trillion. However, we as staff believe that we should continue with the filtration program, and we've consulted with Mass DEP. They do concur.
Okay. So we have lower numbers than previously, but still not zero, and we're going to...
Exactly.
And it could fluctuate, I suppose.
Absolutely,
Okay.
could fluctuate.
Are we believing that our numbers are lower because the water table has dropped in this drought?
Through the chair, it could be that. It could also just be the fact that 1 part per trillion is 1 grain of sand in an Olympic swimming pool. So we're looking for 20 grains of sand in an Olympic swimming pool. And because that is such a low number, the variability of the testing, they could test the same sample 3 times, come up with 18, 20, and 25.
Okay.
So we're cautiously optimistic. However, those numbers could continue to rise. You know, they could fluctuate low, high. And if you look at the quarterly average for April, May, and June, we're only at 19.5 parts per trillion. So we're just a whisker under the MCL, the maximum contaminant level.
Yeah, no, I agree we should continue with our mitigation measures because it was
Yeah.
above 20 many months in a row, so it may just go back up next.
Definitely.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then in terms of the MWRA connection, we now have a scheduled meeting before the Southborough Department of Public Works Planning Board as well as the Capital Planning Committee, and that meeting is going to be on July 18th of this year.
Do you need us to attend or watch that? July 18th, you said?
We'll talk offline.
Talk about it, okay.
Yes, yeah.
But it is a public meeting, anyone could watch.
Exactly, it's a public meeting. Yeah. And then, moving on, we also have John.
Thank you,
Thank you, John.
Thank you, Chuck.
Thank you, John.
We have Josh Grossetti, who will, with the chair's permission, present the town meeting, the annual town meeting survey results.
Oh, nice.
So we might as well put those on the screen if we can.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Josh Grossetti, Director of IT for the town. Recently, the IT department collaborated with the town manager's office on a resident survey to solicit feedback related to Hopkinton annual town meeting. And we were pleased to receive 434 responses for this survey. So usually when we run something like this, we do not receive that level of engagement. So this was a lot of data compared to what we usually see. So yeah, up on the screen, we have some summary results that we'll go through. First few slides are related to some demographic and household data, and then followed by a number of additional questions related to some potential changes that we, may be considered for annual town meeting. So you see we have about 82% of respondents have lived in town for over 5 years, with less than 6% of respondents residing in town for 2 years or under. We have a distribution of age ranges for respondents. Maybe notably here is the minority of responses from the 34 and under demographic. Maybe most notably is no respondents self-identified as being 24 years of age or younger. We found the majority of respondents did have school-aged children in the household. And of our 434 responses, 77% did not attend annual town meeting. So in a slide or two, when you see some of the other information, that's something to keep in mind, that most of this data is from folks that did not attend. If we go on to the next slide, of the folks that did attend any amount of annual town meeting, 31% attended for all 3 nights. The folks that did not attend, we see that 67% said that the COVID-19 pandemic did not impact their choice to not attend annual town meeting. Next slide starts showing some information about the meeting itself, how folks get their information. So we'll see that the top 2 responses for how folks get information about annual town meeting is from the local newspapers, town social media, followed by word of mouth, the town website, and then mailings. And next we'll see the reasons that folks don't attend annual town meeting, the length of the meeting led by far, followed by meeting time, and then meeting day or date, childcare, and then a number of other reasons. Next slide shows, during the pandemic, right, we had 2 annual town meetings where they were held on the weekends, and so we thought it may be valuable to find out if that idea continued, whether we'd get, much more turnout or not. And you'll see here the results are slightly mixed, whether folks would be more likely to attend on a weekend or not. And the next 2 questions both show substantial support for a consent agenda and for electronic voting. I bet if you go to the next slide. Yep, thank you. And then last, we asked a question about whether the quorum should be considered for a change. We see that right down the middle, 50% of folks that responded said no change, and then some slight favor for the quorum being increased over being decreased. I'll mention as well, lastly, right, and these comments were included in the agenda packet. We did also receive over 250 free text suggestions and comments from folks. So some really good comments there to read through. The challenge with something like that is that it can be challenging to objectively quantify, right, those kind of free text responses that we get from folks, but again, certainly worth reading through. And I think the two recurring themes that I pulled from that were finding ways to shorten the meeting and suggestions for remote or hybrid participation, but we know there's some legal challenges there, that may exist.
I like the consent agenda.
Happy to answer any questions about the survey or any of the data that we should share. We can also circulate these graphs as well.
Yeah. And in addition to the information shared by Josh, we did receive some very good information on the general characteristics of our population relative to who's registered, who's voting, who's attending, and so forth. And we've related that information to what we're sharing tonight.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I was going to say, we have this opportunity with the special town meeting in August. We could do another, a survey so people had comments which were great to read, and some of them are doable suggestions and some of them are not legally possible. But it might be good to have some more clear questions, yes, no, about the things that people are suggesting that are possible. Like we could switch to a Saturday. We could eventually switch to representative town meeting. We could offer babysitting, things like that are doable versus things that we know people would like to vote from home remotely, but we don't have that option. I don't know. And then I put together a spreadsheet of statistics, and I could maybe send it for the next meeting. But I looked at the last 6 town meetings, and only 10% of voters have attended just at least one of the last 6 town meetings. So that includes 3 pre-COVID and 3 COVID meetings. And then only 35 people have attended all 6 of the last annual town meetings, and I bet we're all in the room.
I was just going to say. I bet I know that.
Yeah. So the majority of town does not attend, so the survey results are probably similar to the majority in town. I don't know. And the big gaps, for me anyway, too, were, so on average, just 10% of the town attends town meeting, but when you go under the age of 35, 34 and below, it's only 2 or 3% have attended one of the last 6 meetings. So those are demographics we need to reach, for sure, or accommodate. Maybe childcare would help them, yeah.
Right. But so just through you, doing childcare late at night,
Right.
It's all very
The length of the
challenging,
meeting
right?
was.
The length of the meeting.
Yeah.
And Saturdays, I'm open to trying anything, right? I'm happy to do that, and if it increases participation, that's great. But Saturdays are really challenging for families because they have all kinds of activities. I mean, that's not to say. I think some towns that are successful. Oh, I'm gonna get hate mail. I think some towns that are successful with Saturdays also suspend sporting events for a day. It's like a town decision to try and optimize people's ability and willingness to attend. So I throw that out there to think about too.
We did have babysitting and childcare at one time at the meeting in a different area.
Yeah.
But it didn't really work out very well. The mothers they all stood up and picked up their kids and left very early. So, and that's the way it is.
I just think that,
in my experience, it's been for particular, often school issues. And I do know that my kids have provided that support, and they've been stuck there late into the night, right?
11 o'clock.
Yeah, I agree with all the things that's being said, but I do think we need to think creatively. I mean, doing it the same way again and again and praying that, we'll have a quorum this time, or if not, let's try again. That's not a, solution to it, in my view. So the options that we are considering, let's stack them and then try out something. I mean, something that we all think is, worth exploring. So the childcare one is one that I personally think we might try, just to see, does it help with the quorum, and even if it's for certain time, right? But we gotta do something.
Yeah, in fact,
we are living within a generation of immediate gratification. You don't get that at a town meeting, and no matter what you do. And I think we've just lost a certain amount of the population.
It's always been hard.
Yeah.
That's always going to be there. That's right. So we have to do what we can to bring in the people.
Yeah.
And,
In terms of
free beer.
Okay.
How are other towns handling this? I heard one of the, you probably know better. Is there any town who has been more successful from, a dire situation?
I actually think we might have higher attendance than some towns.
Exactly.
So believe it or not.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
this is a funny thing, but Ashland lowered the quorum to like 10 people, and then they got more than the old quorum. Because nobody wanted just 10 people to make the decisions for the town. So, I know it's just a weird thing. I'm not really suggesting that, but just throwing it out there. It's happened.
Are there any studies published by the Secretary of State's office about which towns have town meeting that has greater attendance or best practices? Or?
Maybe.
We can look into that through the chair. In terms of next steps, we may consider a two-step process. First step is internally as staff, we meet with the town moderator and pick up on some of the lower-hanging fruit from that list and decide how to move that forward. And then for the medium-term, long-term issues, we may consider a much more wider public process to bring in other people to look into those options.
I think you're right about this upcoming town meeting where it's a school issue, and it is the summer. Maybe this is when we should really think about the babysitting possibility, because the school mothers are going to want to come out and vote.
And it's likely to be a shorter meeting, not so late.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna be helpful too.
Depends on what comes on the warrant.
Right.
Warrant once the warrant's open, it's open.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay?
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Josh. Good work. Thank you.
Good work, yeah.
Speaking of immediate gratification.
Moving on, the classification and pay plan for non-union employees. I'm respectfully requesting the board's consensus on the updated classification and pay plan for non-union and non-contract employees. It's the plan that was included in your meeting packet. We as a community, and we've said this over and over, is that we are a town that provides great services because of the employees that play a vital role in delivering those services. We are therefore committed to ensuring that our classification and pay system and structure are fair, equitable, reasonable, and transparent. We also recognize that whilst pay may not be the only reason why we're here, we're learning very quickly that below market salaries have consequences, especially in the period of the Great Resignation. I did put together a quick slide with much thanks to, in fact, I should thank Maria Casey, the HR director, who was the project manager throughout the research process, and Ben, who did the massive number crunching for us. By way of context, the first slide illustrates what is the footprint of the town's non-union employees compared to the unionized employees as well as the school employees. The process involved an independent review, was compliant with our policy to do this work every 3 years. We compared our existing salary structure to the market, focusing on both the public and the private. We also asked the consultant to research and affirm if the town does comply with the Massachusetts Equal Pay Law. And as required by our bylaw, we have journeyed through this project with the guidance and the assistance and discussions with the Personnel Committee. Results. The consultant concluded that we are compliant with the Massachusetts Equal Pay Act, that the town's grades and rates are competitive for the most part, and that clearly our classification and pay has in part to address recruitment and retention, and then finally that we have to strive, and we have managed so far to attain some internal equity. Going forward, we are proposing an 8-point plan. Number 1, increase the number of grades. We currently have 15 grades. We'll expand that to 19. Also, make significant adjustments to the lower grades, upward. The reason being, we're very concerned about the wage disparity between our lowest paid employees and our highest paid employees. And also as a community, we're committed to building community, and therefore would like to pay our lowest paid employees a living wage. We also, as part of this process, because we're adjusting the lower points for each of our grades, specifically grades 1 through 8, have to bring the actual salaries to the minimums. I've identified the cost impact in the packet of making that adjustment. We are addressing internal equity. The reason being, because of what is happening around us. Employees who are coming in to join us, either to fill positions that are vacant owing to retirement or newly created positions, they are getting paid more than people who have been with the town much longer. And so we want to make the adjustments to continue to maintain the internal equity. We also have legacy positions. These are positions that have either been pushing right towards it, right against the maximum pay ranges for each grade, or are in fact now beyond those maximums. We have expanded the ranges of those positions, and for the most part, these are the hard-to-fill positions. The merit pay process will continue to be part of our plan. We set goals that are tied to the town strategic goals. We have regular conversations with employees. We have a midterm evaluation and eventually an end-of-year evaluation. Cost of living adjustments. We have implemented a cost of living adjustment this year. It's been very well received, and in fact, as part of reviewing this process, it did actually mitigate and position our salaries favorably to the market. Last but not least, racial and gender equity. In fact, do you mind moving to the next slide? This slide shows the number of positions within each grade. You will see that we have more positions, grades 1 through 8, compared to grades 9 through 19. Gender composition, in terms of the median hourly rate by sex, males are paid more in our grouping overall than females. This is simply based on distribution, not in terms of equity within each grade. And then the next slide, now going back to the gender equity issue, highlight the number of full-time employees by grade and sex. We have more, in general, female employees than male employees. However, for the most part, our female employees are heavily represented in grades 1 through 8. That's the issue that we want to tackle going forward. We also looked at the median annual pay by race. I should I should hasten to add that the data we used, especially for the Asian and Black members of our team, is very, very small. Each one of those is represented by at most one person. So we want to continue to look at this and see how it translates as we move forward with our diversity agenda. The next slide shows the percentage of employees by race. And then finally, this is our pay distribution, the red representing the maximum and the blue representing the minimum. Let me go back to the last point I made regarding gender. What we are realizing is that whereas the town is compliant with MIPA, the Mass Equal Pay Law, we believe as a community, given our values, that we need to do more than what the law requires. And based on the gender disparities that I've identified, we are suggesting that going forward, we need to do three things. The first being very deliberate in making sure that as the pay raises are implemented, that we don't widen the gap in terms of the distribution of our salaries between genders. And secondly, take concrete steps in ensuring that we target grades 8 to 19 we target those grades with an emphasis on bringing in gender balance, more women. So there's a conscious, deliberate strategy to do that. And then, last but not least, we need to ensure that diversity is part of our recruitment strategy. We have started our work on DEIB. We have laid a great foundation for doing that. Now we need to move that discussion to the next level, where we will measure how we were performing. We will seek input and feedback from the community on what else we need to be doing. And clearly, we all agree that there are opportunities for us to do better, and we want to be committed going forward that we will actually be doing that work. So again, this is an exercise that we do every 3 years. It's an exercise to make sure that we continue to provide quality, exceptional services to our residents, and we are also making sure that our pay as well as classification plans are fair, equitable, reasonable, and that we're transparent in discussing these issues in public.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was really impressed that, I guess I've only been on the board for 2 years, so I have not seen this before, but I'm really glad that you do this every 3 years and that we're striving to be more equitable and analyzing the market conditions, because you don't want to lose people for not paying the market rate, or you got to, yeah, it's very important, and I'm really happy that we did this. And that slideshow, I don't think was in our packet, right? Maybe we could put that in the next packet?
No, the slideshow, no. It summarizes the memo that was included.
No one's keeping the thunder.
It's just easier for people to visualize.
This was really good.
Yeah.
A lot of good, thoughtful work and analysis. I loved it. And I think the philosophies and principles behind it are really commendable. So you have our full support. One thing I wanted to just understand, what is our current attrition rate? Do we have that top of your head? Because I think with this, we want to also measure how we are making progress going forward.
Maria, do you have that statistics? I know you have really been working on developing the metrics for your department. What's our attrition rate currently?
Yeah, so turnover.
Yeah.
Prior to this
People can't hear you, Maria, if you're back there on TV.
Is anybody really watching?
Oh.
I was going to say they'll watch tomorrow.
Yes, prior to this past year, our turnover rate was fantastic. It was ranging about 5%. Below 10 is best practice. This year, it's 11%. So
That's good.
Thank you, yeah.
Culture
Definitely
changes.
timely action.
So, Charles, do you need us to take a vote on implementing this?
I have
or-
a couple questions.
Oh, sure.
though,
Yeah.
If I could. One, I would love to see trends. If we're doing this every 3 years, I'd love to see trends as part of that, so we know how we're making progress. And I would appreciate if we could consider not sticking to a gender binary and consider opening our measurements to non-gender binary identifications.
Good point. In fact, I'm looking at Ben, whether our Munis data goes beyond. Okay, not yet, so we'll incorporate that. Yeah.
I just got authorized in Wellesley, we're going to add the gender binary to Munis. We're working on new HR software, but we got them to add it to Munis.
Oh, great, thank you. Good idea. We'll check in with you then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as you know, folks self-identify,
Mhm.
and we have no control over that. And that's not.
Well, that's exactly right. They should self-identify, right? That's exactly right. And that's fine.
I think we have 4 options now. Choose not to state non-binary male or female, so.
My kids are choosing not to answer
Yeah.
these days as a statement.
So what I'm looking for is consensus support from the board to move forward with the plan as proposed.
So I have one more question that I got via email. Are all our directors at the same level, or do we have some directors that are not at the same level in the new plan?
Yeah, in fact, as included in the packet, our directors are at different levels.
They are at different
Yes.
levels.
Yes.
And can you just explain why they're, and I'm sorry I missed it because I looked for it.
Yeah. Part of this process looks at what we call the job analysis. And Maria, the job analysis factors are?
Education, experience, physical environment, accountability, loss, if you will, consequences of loss. There's one more.
Is it complexity?
Yep.
Yeah.
What's consequences of loss?
Risk management. In other words, for example, using the individuals who are in this room, if we have a network security issue, the loss to the town is estimated as X.
Okay.
If we lose control of our accounting system, the exposure to the town is Y. So we look at those issues.
Interesting. Okay. I at least wanted to make sure I asked.
Well, I'm thrilled with this new one. We called it the SAP. I don't know, we changed it a little now. But when I look back, I mean, nobody got paid right. And in order to get a raise, you had to change your job title. And there were the most convoluted titles in the world in all of the non-union jobs just to get a raise. You know, I was a deputy, right? A deputy what? In the assessor's office. You know, it's like, I felt like I should have had 6 guns on. And I mean, it was just the most convoluted plan in the world. Very difficult to get a raise, very difficult to move. And this is at least opening it up and allowing people to do their best job.
And I appreciate the transparency and the focus on equity.
So from my perspective, I can't speak for everyone on the board, but yeah, I certainly have my support in going forward with this.
So what kind of motion did you need on that? Just
You don't need a motion, right?
No.
So you just wanted
Consensus support?
Yeah, consensus support I think will be
Yeah, the plan as
sufficient.
presented, I think, is the
Yeah,
right
we
direction.
have
Yeah.
You have it. We all
Yeah.
support you.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You all set, Maria?
Keep
Again, I
up-
want to thank
keep up
Maria
the good
as well
work.
as Ben Sweeney did all the number crunching.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, good work, man.
Okay. So I think we're on to liaison reports and board invites, if there are any this week.
Everyone.
Yep.
I did the MWRTA, and we have replaced Ed Carr. He gave his final farewell. And the new director's name is James Nee, N-E-E, and he led the last meeting, and I think he was very good, very effective, and I'm glad we have him.
No other liaisons or invites this week? Okay. And then the next thing is if we have any future board agenda items to add to the list?
Nothing today.
How to get people
No.
to town meetings.
Okay, then I think we're ready for our last motion.
On the agenda
I'd
items,
like to make-
through the chair, agenda items, do we have anything with Park and Rec and Thompson?
Let's see, is that on our list? Future agenda. We have a future agenda list that's in our packet,
We can
right?
check it later too, that's fine.
Well, I mean, do you want to add something?
Yeah.
I can't recall there being anything about Parks and Rec.
Just more Park and Rec kind of plan and strategic plan or future plans. I was talking to some of them, I think they've been working on some of it.
Okay.
Suggestion, how about perhaps as part of the onboarding process, I'll set up a meeting with the chair, the director, and the office staff, and then through that conversation, we can formulate an agenda for.
I'd love to have that, but I didn't think anyone else is not interested, but I'd be happy to.
No, the idea is not for that meeting to replace your suggestion. It's for that meeting to then formulate together with the Park and Rec Commission
yeah, sure.
an agenda item.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That
Thank
sounds
you.
good.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion.
Great.
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.